TikTok time to rock. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon to everyone who's watching from all over the world. It's your friendly neighborhood philosopher here, D Wood. With me now, we've got, we don't even know. It's a mystery. It's a mystery. Can't recognize this mystery guest. How you doing, Mary?
I'm doing well.
I see myself in your glasses.
I know, it's wild.
Pretty cool. And we got Thaddeus here. How you doing, Thaddeus?
Hello, hello. Thanks for having us.
Sorry for the delay, everyone. That was on me. I thought we'd finally be on time for once. And then I have a stupid, my wife, let me be clear. My wife has a stupid dog. I would have never got this stupid dog. But anytime you give this dog a full bowl of water, it drinks all the water and then instantly goes and throws it up all over the place. Anyway, you're just not supposed to give this dog a lot of water. So I thought, hey, he's old enough now. Let me go and try to give him a full bowl of water like a 2-year-old dog should be able to drink. And the dog took over for AP and delaying the show. So, Joseph Smith, eh?
Indeed.
What's
great is he went by Joe, so we have Joe and Mo today.
Prophet Joe and Prophet Mo. We got Prophet Joe and Prophet Mo. And sounds like we're going to be comparing their treatment of women. I know a bit about Muhammad's treatment of women. Mormonism, not so much. Early on, when I was, back when I was still locked up and I was reading some apologetics books, lots of the general apologetics books would have a section on Mormonism, but not a ton of detail. So learned a little bit right then. Then ran into some Mormon missionaries showed up at the door, but this was like 20 years ago, showed up at the door. We got marked after this. We got marked. They'll actually mark you and tell other people not to talk to you after this. But anyway, it was like 20 years ago. Had some Mormon missionaries show up, and one was like an actual bot drone. Like he would sit there and talk, giving a memorized presentation that sounds completely did not sound conversational at all. And he would go, and because of these feelings, we must, and so it sounded like a robot. The other guy was actually conversational and listening. And when you would start responding back and asking questions or something like that, one guy, his eyes just gloss over and he's clearly not paying attention. The other guy's listening and trying to think and trying to answer and stuff. And anyway, They give you their pitch on the first day and then tell you that they'd like to give you a series of 6 presentations and so on. So we said, sure, you can come give us 6 presentations. And I think it was about the third. Sorry, I'm getting a little cold. But it was about the third presentation. It was after the third presentation. Then they didn't come back. And we'd been marked for destruction, according to them, for asking lots of questions and basically looking up what because keep in mind, we didn't know anything about Mormonism. They're just saying stuff. We'd take notes on what they said, and then I would go look it up. And then they would come back and I would say, hey, you said this. I looked this up. This Book of Abraham. Are you serious? Are you serious? Are you kidding me? Right? I was nice. But anyway, they were nice guys. But whoever calls the shot for those guys does not want them actually learning anything. But with that said, that is the extent of my knowledge of Mormonism, was from those brief interactions. So I've heard that there are some creepy parallels between Muhammad and Joseph Smith. And I've even heard some people say they think the same demon that was pulling the strings with one of them was pulling the strings with the other. So with all that said, I don't have really anything else to say on this topic. So this will be you guys presenting new information to me and me reacting by laughing, by crying. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? But all right, where do you guys want to start?
Well, I just want to throw one thing real quick, talking about the similarity. One of the first biographies of Joseph Smith was called The American Muhammad. So right from the start of Mormonism, people were seeing this parallel.
I have to say, it is interesting how in the past, people seem to know more about Islam than they do now, right? Like back then when Islam's not invading you, it's not blowing up your buildings or anything like that, but they seem to know more. You go to the early presidents of the United States, yeah, we know they had to deal with stuff, but here's what's amazing. when they hear there's a problem on the other side of the world and they're concerned, why are these guys attacking us? What would they do? They would start asking questions about Islam and looking into Islam and trying to understand why this ideology is giving rise to things. And they would actually learn things about Islam. Very different from today, where you're not allowed to do that. If you do that, you're a racist and an Islamophobe. But anyway, yeah. So American Muhammad, people caught on to that. Back in a time where you'd think people knew absolutely nothing about Islam, but they knew enough back to keep it. That means they already knew enough about Muhammad and how he was with women and all this stuff back then to, oh, here's another guy who sounds exactly like this dude. Now, I'm saying that because if you ask, now things have been shifting a little recently where people are starting to learn. But if you go back 10 years and you were to say, hey, that guy's the American Muhammad, they would say, oh, you're saying he's a great noble man who freed all slaves and treated and gave women rights. It's like, what planet do you guys live on? That's a good question for Mormons because we're all over the place. I do remember that, something about other planets or people on the moon or something. Anyway, sorry about that. All right, guys.
All right. Want to take a look at the presentation? It's starting with one of my favorite phrases.
Uh-oh.
Yep, it's all right.
Hang on.
We're more than a minute in, so we should be safe, right?
All right. Clicking on Mary's presentation here.
All right. So, as he said, we're going to cover all the women of the prophets. And the most common type.
Hang on. Go back to that. That's the picture. So that's apparently what Joseph Smith really looked like. I use the one that is on Everything Mormons Hand You, that wonderful, great picture, and where he looks super handsome. And I'm sitting there trying to think, how am I going to look like that dude in the boom boom room? But here's you got what he actually looks like. And I'm like, I could pull that off. Anyway, sorry about that.
Yep. They definitely do Photoshop him. And the funny thing is, even this one is framed straight on, so you don't see his nose because his nose wasn't as attractive. All right, so he is one in the variety of prophets that I call penis prophets because they give prophecies about whom they can have intercourse with. They basically go, God's telling me that I need to have sex with all of you. And it's really the single most common type of false prophet. If you go false prophet playbook, chapter 1, what do you have? Make proclamations about all the people you can have sex with outside of the rules that you've set up for everybody else.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. All these prophets love this. Hey, we get revelations about all the people we get to bang. Yeah, real funny until Al Zut shows up with the same rule.
Indeed.
You left the Mahdi off there, though, Mary. You got to get the Mahdi on there.
Oh, yeah, I did leave him off. Sorry about that. I was just grabbing some random folks here. And as we move on, one thing, because they're narcissists, with narcissists, very often they make excuses for themselves. And so you'll see very early patterns of sexual abnormality. And you saw this both in Muhammad and in Joseph Smith. We'll go into these in more detail. But Muhammad had early, very suspect relations with the slave that he owned named Baraka, who was basically like his mother, but the evidence indicates that he was sleeping with her and believed her oldest son to be his own, even though I think he was actually infertile. There are also very strong indications that he had been sleeping with his aunt, Fatima bint Asad, who was his uncle Abu Talib's wife. Joseph Smith had 2 run-ins very early on. A guy who hired him to go treasure hunting and do all of the necromancy and dog sacrifice and rock peeping to try to find treasure. The one guy who hired him was called Josiah Stowell, and he had 2 daughters, Miriam and Rhonda. And later on, when they realized he was doing naughty things with another girl, these girls were questioned and enough things came out that it led to his arrest, to be deposed, to see whether or not there were enough to bring him up on charges about what he had done in relation to these 2 girls. After he married, when he was in his 20s, a girl named Eliza Winters was much in his house, and basically the situation with her caused him to flee Harmony, Pennsylvania. They always talk about, oh, the oppression, my oppression, I have to leave this place because of oppression. No, he had to leave places because he kept messing with people's daughters, and he wanted to get beyond the arm of the law. He left Harmony after getting in trouble for Eliza, and he left New York after getting in trouble about what he'd done back in Pennsylvania with Daughters of the Stowell family.
Hang on. This Baraka woman, Muhammad's slave. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I tell you guys I forget stuff unless I use it regularly. But if you go back, I'll remember stories, but not remember the names and stuff. There was the woman who drank Muhammad's pea pot. She drank out of Muhammad's pea pot, and then he
that's
said,
her.
"Oh, that's her. Okay, yeah,
yep, that's her.
Okay, thought that name sounded familiar. Now I know. This is the woman who drank out of Muhammad's pea pot, and then found out that it was Muhammad's pee, and he said, "Oh, your stomach you'll never get a stomach problem again because of my miracle pee."
Yep.
Now we know where hijab gets all that golden shower stuff he's into.
Oh, yeah. So she was probably 12 years older than him, and she was the closest to a mother that he had. She is the reason that he spoke Ethiopic, because she was Ethiopian. And she had a child named Ayman before being married to Zayd ibn Haritha. And a bunch of other sources, like the sources try to cover this up, but her name is Ayman, which means that has to be her oldest son. And sources will do weird things like make him a tiny child later on, attribute him to completely wrong people, because they're trying to cover over the fact that this is when he's from. And it's very evident whenever he does things in other places that he's an adult at that time, and these other things are fictional, aside from which she would have to be miraculously made pregnant at a very advanced age for the other narratives to be true. So Muhammad seems to have believed that this child was his, but his clan refused to recognize her because A, he was from a slave, and B, she was black, and they thought both of those things were shameful. But by adopting Zayd, whom he had married to Baraka, he then makes Ayman, who is adopted in turn by Zayd, into his heir's heir. So he gets this kid that he thinks is probably his own son back into the family line. And the fact that he adopts Zayd is very, very questionable. Like, why would he do that? It makes no sense because he had Ali. But with this fact, the fact that he thought he was Ayman's dad, along with the second fact that they had been doing wife swap between Fatima and Khadija, were in this weird wife swap relationship with Muhammad and Abu Talib, it kind of points out why. The wife swap.
Hey, Mary.
Yeah.
You kind of glossed over one of the very creepy parts of that. You just kind of just said it. But Muhammad views this woman as kind of a mother figure, and yet it may or may not be his child, but he's at minimum having sex with her if he thinks that he's having a child by her. So Muhammad is having sex with the woman who is acting as mother for him. Bit creepy. Just saying.
Absolutely. And it seems, because again, what is a slave to you? She's something for you to use. Even if she was the one who raised you. Did he have any other female slaves at this time?
I assume not.
No. So this is his only slave. And, he is a lusty pagan Arab. What do lusty pagan Arabs do? They use what they have. It's his possession.
So you're saying he couldn't get it? He couldn't get any other woman, so he's like, she's my mother, but whatever. I'm horny.
Yeah, basically, because, she's legally owned by him, so she's available to him.
Hey, one second. I just wanted to point out to
Yep.
Inspiring Philosophy. So, Inspiring Philosophy posted a super chat saying, play the Lutheran satire video, a Latter day regift. It compares Islam and Mormonism in a
I love it.
hilarious way. Would have loved to do that, Inspiring Philosophy. Just downloaded the video, checked it out. Loaded with music. Loaded with music. Think I want to take a swing at that hornet's nest? No. Tell Lutheran Satire to quit putting so much copyrighted music into his videos if he wants me to share them. Anyway.
Ha! It's probably a 99% chance that he actually performed it, but
Yeah, that or it's public domain stuff. So yeah, if anyone can confirm that that is not copyrighted music, that's instantly going to get my because some of the stuff they'll just take your live stream down as you're live and stuff like that. You're playing music and stuff. So anyway. If anyone wants to verify that that is okay music, that's not going to cause any problems. Anyway, all right, go ahead.
all right. So the next individual was his aunt, and Fatima is the next closest thing he has to a mother. This is even worse because
So both his
whenever
mothers?
both his mothers, he had intercourse with both his mother figures because his own mother only took care of him between the ages of 4 and 6, and then she died. Then between 6 and 8, he was in his grandfather's family. Then his grandfather dies, and who becomes his guardian after this? Abu Talib, right? So Abu Talib is now his guardian, his dad, and so his mother figure, who is his other guardian, his guardian type role is his wife, Fatima. And so when Muhammad finally gets married to Khadija and they live together for a while, no sign of pregnancy, they had this practice that was wife swap marriages where one man would trade wives for intercourse. And Aisha claims that the purpose of this is so that a man could have a child from a noble lineage, but that makes no sense because that child is your heir, not the other person's heir. What it was almost certainly for is how to get an heir that you can count as your own, though you might be impotent, or infertile at least, though you might be infertile. What it was almost certainly for is so. This is probably what is happening around about this time, and further indication of this is the weird sketchiness between Muhammad's relationship with Abu Talib's family later on, because he takes Ali on as his foster son to take care of him and support him and raise him when his father goes temporarily bankrupt. So what does that signify? Well, if you don't have any sons yourself, what is normative in these Semitic societies is that you would marry to one of your daughters and then adopt that person as your heir, not like your son, so it's not incesty, but he would be your heir through virtue of being your daughter's wife. But Muhammad doesn't do this. And he could have arranged the betrothal already and settled all of the legal things long before they were old enough. He doesn't do this. Instead, he takes a slave who's from completely outside their tribe, which would be unusual at that time. And keep in mind that his relationship between Fatima, the relationship between Fatima and himself is such that when he climbs on top of her, when he is in her grave, what do all the people watching think he is doing?
Banging her.
That, getting one last go before he says goodbye.
Right. So there's a context. They're contextualizing the event of him climbing on top of her because of their own knowledge of what the relationship had been. Like, they went, oh yeah, he must be having sex with her. And he also talked openly about how sexy and beautiful she is, and she looks like a houri and everything, which is weird to say about your aunt, normally, one would think.
I just have to point out, nothing is weird for the man. The man from the Night of Al-Zut. I just have to point out, like, there's no story you could tell that would be so weird.
I mean, that's basically it. The weirder stuff suddenly makes way more sense when you start digging into the early sources, and you're like, why are they saying these things that are obviously untrue? And then you go, oh, oh, oh. It's just so much worse than you think. So Eliza Winters was described as much in their house of our other prophet, Joe, and his wife. And she was later accused by one of Joe's bestie friends of having an illegitimate child, which seems to be of Smith's by implication, because Harris was also the one who said that he was actually having sex with her. So Harris reported that Joseph Smith was having sex with Eliza Winters and later accuses her publicly of having had an illegitimate child secretly. And there were a number of other people who repeated the accusations that he had been doing things to this young girl. And so Harris also mentioned that Joseph Smith said his adultery with her was totally cool with God. God's on board with this one. Don't worry about it. God's got my back on this. And Eliza Winters sued him when he claimed that she had had an illegitimate child. She lost on the facts. Now, people can pause this later. I'm not going to read all of it. That's the entire recording of the complaint. But the final straw is that judgment was entered against the plaintiff, meaning Winters. So Winters was either truly infamous and scandalous before Martin denounced her, or she could not convince the court that his words were legally slanderous because they were true. So very, very lovely here that he was seducing people's 16-year-old daughters shortly after he had married a woman closer to his own age. So there are kind of these very early indecencies reported of the declared prophet, self-declared prophet. Muhammad, of course, jumped in the bed with the only available warm body as soon as his first wife was dead. Khadija died on the 10th, and before the end of the month, he had married Sauda, even though he wasn't attracted to her because she was someone to have. He also... Go ahead.
Oh, he seemed to have a thing for mother figures and little girls. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like he seems to be. I read a whole book on what happens when people have really messed up father figures or fathers who abandon them or something like that. When you read the description in Paul Witz's book, The Faith of the Fatherless, I mean, he basically, it sounds like he's writing a map of the life of Muhammad when he talks about the impact of that this has on children that you tend to see later on when they grow up. It manifests itself later in life. But so losing your father figures or having abusive father figures and so on. But you know, you already went through some of it. So Muhammad's father supposedly dies before he's born. Then he's sent to live with a family of Bedouins for several years. They think he's demon possessed. So they send him back to his mom. So that was his only father figure then. And then he goes to his mom. So she dies when he's 6. Then he's sent to his grandfather for 2 years. Then his grandfather dies. Then he's sent to Abu Talib. And even if we're not suspecting various kinds of abuse that might have taken place during this time, it's known that if you're taking care of an orphan back then, you're basically just going to make sure that he has enough food to survive. So Muhammad loses every single father figure that he has when he's growing up. And so the material in Paul Witz's book, just, I mean, again, he talks about the impact this has on people and how this manifests later in life. And it sounds like this guy's writing a biography about Muhammad. He's not even talking about Muhammad. But there are also the mother issues, because he also lost his Bedouin mother figure, and then his real mother dies. And there's the story much later in life where he's passing by his army's marching by his mother's grave, and he goes, and it says he cried until his beard was soaked with tears and so on. So he clearly had mother issues, But I mean, just think. I mean, he marries Khadijah. She's old enough to be his mother. You've got these other women who are old enough to be his mother. And then super creepy when he thinks he's demon possessed in the cave. What does he do? He tries to hurl himself off a cliff. And then when the demon won't let him hurl himself off a cliff, he runs to Khadijah. Cover me, cover me. He runs. What man runs to his wife if he thinks a demon is attacking him? But Muhammad did. And it's cover me, cover me. It's like a little kid. I mean, he's 40 years old. He's running to Khadijah like a little, like my little son, my little 7-year-old or something like that would run if he thought he saw a monster or something like that and I wasn't around. He'd run to his mom. Mom. That's what Muhammad is like. And it's like, this guy's seriously psychologically screwed up. And it sounds like what we've got here with Muhammad and Joseph Smith is that these dudes had some messed up stuff early in life, and then it all manifested throughout their lives and in their revelations. What a coincidence.
Yeah, Joseph Smith's own father basically bankrupted the family doing this crazy treasure hunting, mystical magic nonsense. And his mother was super into it too. And he managed to kind of convince them that he could do the special things that they were like seeking to do. And so he had this prove myself to mom and dad thing forever. And their family was extremely poor. They lost the farm because of their shenanigans and their treasure hunting and nonsense. And he's like, I will prove all their hopes true. I'm the one that everything hangs on. And at the same time, running around and just being a complete scumbag.
Sounds like a pretty nice guy.
Oh, yeah. So Muhammad basically bullied Abu Bakr into letting him become betrothed with his 6-year-old and have intercourse with his 9-year-old. Abu Bakr was a true believer, but when he first suggested it, he's like, but aren't we brothers? And Muhammad said, we are brothers in faith only. This is fine. I can have sex with your daughter. So apparently being the mother of the believers is something that would cause incest, but being brothers won't. Because.
That's good to know.
Yeah. It seems awfully convenient. Awfully convenient.
No, it's just helpful if I ever decide to start a sex cult like Muhammad and Joseph Smith.
Well, you could plan ahead. See, Muhammad forgot and he accidentally said, his wives are the mothers of the believers. And then he said, and he is your father. And he had to abrogate that because they were like, wait a second. Wait a second. If mothers of believers means that we can't have intercourse with them after you divorce them or you die, what does his father mean? Are you like committing incest with all these women?
Yeah, everyone who's watching, still, even though the perfect preservation myth has been just absolutely crushed, you'll still have regular Muslims that you talk to in the streets who aren't aware of this sort of thing and so on. And so lots of times they'll challenge you to show any change in the Quran and so on. If you have a Yusuf Ali Quran, the one that includes the commentary, just take them to Surah 33, verse 6, Surah 33, verse 6, and read the verse and then read the commentary. So the Quran you have today does not mention that Muhammad is the father to the believers, but the footnote points out that Ubay ibn Ka'b had that in his Quran. Yeah. Because the rest of the community would abrogate stuff, and Ubay would, I heard this from Muhammad himself like this, so I'm just going to stick with this one and stuff. And later on, that's part of the reason you just had to eventually start burning stuff, is you ended up with all these kinds of differences and so on. But yeah, so it ends up in the Quran that Muhammad is the father of the believers. The women are the mothers, and Muhammad is the father. Then, of course, that has to get taken out, because Muhammad's mental war on father figures, which is the result of childhood trauma. And so what's the message? You get only father figures. You get only mother figures in Islam. You don't get father figures, especially if you're an orphan. By the way, that's Surah 33, verse 6. If you go to Surah 33, verses 4 to 5, the two verses right before it, That's where Allah abolishes adoption in Islam. I mean, think about how screwed up this is. One of the most humane practices ever, adoption. Allah abolishes it to cover up for Muhammad. But you have it right there, Surah 33, verses 4 to 5. Allah abolishes adoption, and then Muhammad's going to be your father figure. Yeah, you don't need a human father to adopt you, and so on. Muhammad's going to be your father figure. Then that gets abrogated. What's the message? Hey, if Muhammad didn't get a father, none of you do either. Better luck next time. Oh, hang on. Before we jump into a new section, let's Inspiring Philosophy's moaning and wailing about this. He said the music's at the beginning and the end, so I chopped off the music. So we can go ahead and listen to this little video, and maybe he can quit whining for like 5 seconds. Anyway.
Fantastic.
You guys seen this before?
It is a good video.
I have like video. 5 times. I keep sending it to Muslims, and it makes them so mad. I may have seen this. Whenever I hear Lutheran satire, I remember Horace Ruins Christmas or something like that, which I watched like 20 times. This I may have seen. I don't know. I cannot recall what it's about. But let me go ahead and I have to pull this up. I just transferred the file over. So, all right, you guys ready? This is what Inspiring Philosophy demanded we watch. So here we go.
Hello, Satan.
Hey, Pazuzu, what's up, man? What?
Well, don't you remember what today is?
Hey, Lutheran satire. Don't know if you're watching this, but this is annoying to watch if you have headphones on. You got one voice coming out of one headphone and the other voice coming out of the other headphone. This is amateur hour. I can show you how to fix that. And I would have fixed it if I'd have known before we started playing it. But anyway, let me back up.
Hello, Satan.
Hey, Pazuzu, what's up, man? What?
Well, don't you remember what today is?
Arbor Day?
It's my birthday. Did you forget?
No, I was just seeing if you forgot.
So, did you give me what I asked for? You know, a brand new false religion with which I could deceive countless American souls. Did you get that for me?
Hey, these effects aren't very special. I feel like I can make this level of quality video just by cutting some stuff out and putting a picture behind it. I feel like I could do. Anyway, sorry about
that. Yep.
Really?
Uh-huh.
So you didn't just totally forget about it, and now you're going to repackage some old heresy and try to pass it off as something new?
No way, bro.
Awesome! So can you tell me what this completely new religion is like?
Sure. So this religion is centered around like a supposedly illiterate prophet who goes off by himself to pray about the religious unrest in his day.
Yes.
And this prophet is visited by an angel who tells him that the one true religion has been lost and that the prophet needs to reclaim it.
This is starting to sound familiar.
Then, in a way that's completely and deliberately unverifiable, God reveals a new holy book to the prophet that's called
the Quran?
No, it's called the Book of Mormon.
And what does this book teach about the Bible?
It teaches that the Bible used to be true, but then a bunch of Christians changed what it originally said, even though, of course, there's no evidence for that ever happening.
Ha! I have to break. Have to introduce our friend Lutheran satire to a little argument called the Islamic Dilemma, buddy. The entire parallel breaks down. I see no similarities between these two religions.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've heard this before. And what does this religion teach about the Trinity?
That it's a lie invented by the Christian church.
And what does it say about how we're saved by grace through faith in Jesus?
That it's a lie invented by the Christian church.
And what does this book teach about good works?
That your good works get you into heaven, but there's like a bunch of different levels of heaven, and that like the highest level is reserved for those people who have lived the lives of like the most perfect submission
to God's will? Yeah, I'm pretty sure this religion already exists.
What? Dude, no, it's like totally new.
Really? Is there any chance that this religion is pro-polygamy?
Yes.
Then what are the odds that after the death of the prophet, there will be a split between people who want to follow his blood relative and those who want to follow another guy?
Approximately 100%.
And I'm guessing that this religion will alter its theology when it becomes politically expedient to do so?
You guessed correctly.
Okay, this is obviously that same religion you invented in the 7th century. What are you going to tell me next? That the name of this religion's prophet is going to be Mohammed?
White people are never gonna follow a guy named Muhammad. No, we need to think of like a really white name. What's the whitest name you could think of?
Walter Peters.
No.
Douglas Mayflower.
No.
George Winchester.
No.
Hunter Billingsley.
He's got a point. Like, there is a much whiter name than all of these.
No.
Franklin Peabody III.
No.
Philip Clark.
No.
Rippleton Hallbanks.
Clark Phillips.
No.
Wilson Phillips.
No.
Peter Waffleton.
No.
Jeffrey Mustard.
No.
Brian Pudding.
No.
Wilbur Milk.
No.
Trevor Lilyblossom.
No.
Stuart Wigby.
Nerp.
Kip Sweatervest.
No.
Chip Whistler.
Nope.
Joseph Smith.
Oh, that's the whitest name I've ever heard. Hey, man, let's go find you a Joseph Smith. Happy birthday, bro.
That was good. That was good. I like how a third of the entire video was guessing names. I mean, guessing what the name is going to be. That's pretty funny.
It's pretty awesome.
Pretty good little point there. So, everyone who's watching, if you're going to make a video comparing Joseph Smith and Muhammad, then have it as someone's forgetting Satan's birthday. Nice. What's that?
The funny thing is that Joseph Smith actually claimed that the Bible was mostly just being misinterpreted. There were a few extra verses that like explicitly mentioned him that he claimed got left out. But most of it, he said, oh, they're just translating it wrong. They're translating it wrong. So they were, twisting it with their tongues sort of thing.
And the Jews and the Christians know that I am mentioned in their book, but they cover it up.
Yep.
Yep, you can see why people would call him the American Muhammad. All right, let's take a couple of super chats before we jump into the next section. Wherever Joe and Mo are at, I hope they're enjoying the 72 zoot, splitting their leather moons. Very strange comment. I don't know what any of that means. Off topic, but whenever I think of Muslims saying Muhammad was removed from the Bible, I always wonder what the point would even be, because there would be no reason to remove him before the rise of Islam. Yeah, and the silly theories that they're kind of removing it in live time as they're finding out about Muhammad. Oh, let's take this out of the Bible. Like, sorry, guys, we've got copies of the Bible before that. You should be able to go to if someone in 7th century Arabia was removing Muhammad's name from the Bible, should be able to go to other copies that existed before that in different places in the world. Very, very stupid stuff. We just got to have to put it all together. Don't worry, guys. Don't worry. Next year is the year of Muhammad in the Bible. Gonna be fun times.
Nice.
Yeah, I think that almost all of them, all the people who said that they removed it, said that they removed it after they found out about who Muhammad actually was. So it is supposed to be in the earlier stuff. And then after Muhammad, they just didn't like him, so they removed it.
Yeah, and guys, everyone who's watching, you have no idea how stupid this sounds in the Muslim sources. Like, if you have any clue what's going on, it's basically something along the lines of Jews and Christians are sitting there in Arabia going, oh, we know that a prophet's going to come and he's going to have this huge mole on his back, and this is how we will identify him. This is how we'll identify him as the last and greatest prophet and messenger, because he'll have this giant mole that is the seal of the prophets, and we read about this in our books. And then, oh no, it's Muhammad. oh, we don't like him because he's a little too Arab, so let's just erase this from our scriptures. And then they're erasing, oh, okay, here's the part about the mole. Let's erase this. It's like on that level of stupid. And here's what's amazing. We just have to put this all together because they're never going to look this stuff up for themselves, ever. Not in 1 trillion years. We have to put it all together for them, put it in their faces. This will be next year. This year, Islamic Dilemma. Next year, we're gonna handle this. We're gonna take them through it step by step. But this should be, when you read about the claims, this should be a situation where you look at it and go, okay, this guy is the most obvious false prophet ever. There is no way Jews and Christians are magically removing verses from their books around the world, some of which are buried inside of old walls of churches and stuff like this and wouldn't be discovered until long after the time of Muhammad and so on. There's no way this makes the slightest bit of sense. This guy is obviously a false prophet. So, I mean, keep in mind, when Muhammad is in Mecca, he's talking to a bunch of completely clueless people who have no idea what's in the Bible. You could get away with that stuff. You get away with saying, I'm in their books. I'm in their books. You don't know what's in their books, so you don't know any better. Then once you find out what's in their books and, oh, it doesn't line up. Oh, that's because they took it out. Well, again, that could make sense to someone in Medina at the time, right? Once Muhammad and his companions get to Medina and the Jews say, what? He's not in our books? Here's our books right here. Show us this. Show us. Point to it. Point to something about Muhammad. Oh, that's because they took it out. Okay. Well, I guess you could believe him. Okay. We're kind of past all that, ladies and gentlemen. Even if you would have believed him right there, the way to test him would be, okay, let's go to a different Bible in a different part of the world where they haven't taken out the stuff about Muhammad. Let's go see it there. Oh, you don't find it there either. That's when you're supposed to go, this guy is the most obvious false prophet in history. He lied like Hijab. He lied like Sheikh Uthman. He lied like all the lying liars from Lying Liar Land, trying to take us for a ride on the liar coaster on Liars Get In Free Day. We're not interested. Fake prophet, guys. Fake prophet.
Amazingly, I still occasionally encounter a Muslim today that says the same thing. That all the Christian priests, right? They have the real Bible and they're just hiding it. Because it has Muhammad's description in it. So it'll either be the Vatican's hiding it or literally every Christian priest has this and they're all hiding it. And then I guess, in the 1 in a million that converts to Islam, they are just so dedicated to the conspiracy that they don't reveal it or whatever. I don't know.
Oh, hang on. Oh, dang. I need to change the thumbnail. I was not paying attention. Taking Notes says, Lord have mercy on me for understanding what the thumbnail means. And I was thinking, what? It's just a picture of them. It's just 2 pictures, right? It's because I put the Bang Bros on there, but that is apparently a porn site or something like that.
Oh no!
Yeah, I did it because the other one said the Mubahala Bros, and I was like, I need something with a B, and so I put Bang Bros. Okay, so oopsie. All right, I'll have to change. I mean, it fits. So I don't know. But anyway, oopsie. Okay.
I did not know that.
All right. Libro says, every time I see Orthodox, it's Orthodox lips. Get it right. Orthodox lips. Muslim, I think of Patrick Bateman's morning routine. That's from American Psych. That's funny. Oh, boy. Mormonism, a very polite cult. I have to say they were exceptionally nice to me.
Currently, they used to be jihadis.
Yeah. And you have to wonder, see, if we want to know, just let them get complete control over a country and then see how they act. Mo and Joe coming for the... What's wrong? Every time Thaddeus and Mary reveal stuff about Joe Mo, David should do the Lily J surprised face. Oh, yeah, that should be. Do I need a bodyguard? What do you think? Do I need a bodyguard? Play the Lutheran satire video. Already done it, man. What's wrong with you? Gotta love the reject Trinity to orgy pipeline.
Nice.
That is. You can't believe this. What should we believe? That we're supposed to bang a bunch of chicks. Does anyone know why Muhammad latched on to the God of Abraham? I think he would have had an easier time getting converts early on if he picked one of his tribe's gods to be his one true God. I'm sure Mary and Thaddeus have thoughts on this as well.
Oh, yeah.
It seems like Jews were like the example of monotheists in the minds of lots of people, even in Arabia, and that they were viewed as kind of authority on like matters of monotheism and so on. So, yeah, it looks like Muhammad went with a compromise. Hey, I'll take a law from our pagan religion and roll with that and say, hey, but I'm also the prophet that all these other scriptures are recognizing and so on. So anyway, but they were aware of Jews. They're aware of Christians. They're aware that Jews and Christians are the monotheists. So it'd be kind of, let me put it this way. If you just came out of nowhere and said, hey, I'm going to pick one of our pagan gods, and then that's going to be the true God, doesn't seem like you're going to get support from the pagans or from the Jews or Christians. If you really wanted to dupe some people, you take the name of one of your pagan gods and say this is the true God of the Jews and Christians or something along those lines. What are you guys' thoughts on this?
Well, I don't think that if he had been able to wrap in the adoration to the other lesser gods, I don't think that they would have had any problems with saying that, oh, our high God is also the God of the Jews. They would not have hesitated. They wouldn't have cared. Muhammad wanted to be their leader too, and they didn't like that. So the two things they didn't like is that Muhammad was claiming authority by being the prophet. And he says you have to stop giving adoration to these gods that you consider lesser but also important.
Yeah, and I just add that Muhammad definitely seems to have some sort of Judaism in his background in some manner, whether that's like some sort of training or like his friends or informants are Jewish or whatever, because for some strange reason, Allah keeps copying from all these Jewish sources. You know, he copies from the Talmud, he copies from all these commentaries on the Old Testament. And you do see the same a little bit with Christians, but it's much more dominant on the Jewish side. So I think that he already had a connection to that in one way or another before he started getting this idea that he could be a prophet.
So glad to see you branching out to Mormon polemics. The two perfits are similar in their desires for women. Joe threatened his wife, Emma, in Doctrines and Covenants 132. I don't believe any of that.
And I have that here. If we get to it, if we don't, then that's fine.
A true prophet would never threaten his wives.
I was just gonna say, I noticed the username there, Brigham Young.
Brigham Young,
Yes.
yeah, very, very rude, very rude. Yeah. LDS Happy Cult, Jehovah's Witness Sad Cult, Seventh-day Adventist Paranoid Cult, Islam Death Cult. While there are good people in these groups, the belief systems seem cultic to me.
Yeah.
That was racist against every group you just mentioned. Joe and Mo sound suspiciously like Chomo. Jomo.
Chomo.
That's true. That's
Chomo.
true. And here's inspiring philosophy. Skip the music. Start at 38. You were fine. There's no music after that. Still trying to get us to play the video that we already watched. Very, very weird, dude. Is this an Oedipus complex, or did Mo just want to do any woman he was around? He does seem to. It's weird because, you'd think, given all the, way older women, way younger women, just seem to like anything with a hole or anything that anyone could put inside of him or something like this. So you might think that, but it does seem like he's just a weird mixture of some messed up psychological features. Seems like all these different things happened and they affected him in different ways and they caused this, but creepy stuff. Do Dawa Diddy know their founder's weird psych? No. Are they not ashamed? Horrified. They should be. A 16-year-old is a no-no to most grown men, even in the 1800s.
And that is very true. People think, oh, they married in their teens. No, in the 1800s, during this time, the most common age of marriage for women was about 22 to they
were all 4-year-olds. Just ask Daniel the Kikachu. Daniel the Kikachu said they were all children.
Yes, of course he did.
Map, minor attracted prophet. And Muhammad and Joseph Smith went around singing, I'm the map, I'm the map, I'm the map, I'm the map, I'm the map. Samurai Hobbit says, hey, it's my birthday tomorrow. Can you sing it in the style of the Adhan? Sing the beginning. No, you got to do this. Birthday to you. And somehow that's impressive to people, and they go, oh, so great, so great. What's creepy is there are Westerners who they just love the sound of foreign languages and stuff. I've mentioned this before, but Osama Dakdok, he pointed out one time, he said he met this woman who was like, oh, but Arabic, when they're saying it from the mosque, it sounds so beautiful. And he goes, oh, you mean like this? And he started saying all this stuff in Arabic and singing it in the sing-song voice. She's like, yes, it's like that. It's like that. And he said, okay, well, that's interesting. I just said I want to slit your throat and drink the blood as it's coming out of your neck and stuff like this. Oh, gosh, people are stupid. I think I figured out the real reason why Ibn Jurayj used sesame oil is because he heard about Muhammad learning the hard way with the men of Al-Zun. It's like, that's possible. It's like, I know this story. I'm not falling for this. Got to use the sesame oil. You guys check with Jai and DOC if you're wondering about the sesame oil up the bum story, everyone. A bunch of cult leaders. What's sad is that most Mormons and Muslims don't know that they're part of a cult. Yeah, again, I don't know a whole lot about Mormons, but I know that when I'm sharing pretty much anything with Muslims about the Muslim sources, they have absolutely no clue what I'm talking about. None. They start catching on after we start bringing it up to them over and over and over again. But my goodness, see, you go back to when I was kind of getting started, and it's like people in general thought that Muslims were more knowledgeable about their religion than other people were about their religion and stuff. And it's just because you see them dressing in a certain way and see them headed to the mosque and you think, oh, they're really, really, really dedicated to their religion and so on. Yeah, the basic practices are reinforced and so on. And a couple of basic prayers and things like that. Apart from that, absolutely clueless about anything in their sources. It was very, very surprising. Momo was like a millennial white woman in his day. He had daddy issues. Daddy issues. It's always daddy issues. It is. Tends to be. It's one of the reasons, guys, everyone do your best to have good, strong families with good parents that the kids respect. That is the shortest path to a good future for them. Joseph Smith's wife, Emma, thought he was corrupt. What? For running around on him, but was a prophet also. I think she wanted to reform Mormonism by hiding issues and stopping polygamy, similar to Aisha and the Quran-eating goat.
Well, there's part of this that's true. She did think that he was kind of a fallen prophet, a corrupted prophet. On the other hand, he actually offered her to have like a side piece, and they approached the side piece she wanted, who was the editor of the local newspaper, and basically said, Emma wants to have a earthly ceiling to you so that she can enjoy you here. And the editor and his wife said, heck no, you guys must be fake. They had been committed, right? Because they were editing the newspaper of the Mormons, and they got out of Dodge. And after that, Joseph Smith was too embarrassed by this rejection, and was like, and Emma, and God says, Emma, if you don't just shut up and be okay with this, and if you want any more, then you'll go to hell. So that was actually after. I just thought that he just said no to her. No. He arranged for her to get a side piece. And when the side piece was like, no, we're not having this, he then came up with this declaration from God to save face.
Hold up. Is this like, you mean like side piece, like in like how Sneeko and all these guys talk about sitting there while someone else is banging their girl, like that?
Well, I mean, he wasn't going to watch, but he was going to give Emma.
But he was going to know that his wife's out banging some other dude.
Yeah, because he had so many hotter women to bang that he didn't care about Emma anymore. So he just wanted to get her off his back, and if she'd be like the big supported wife of the prophet again, because she got her boy toy young publishing man. But the young publishing man was like, nope, don't want any of that. Me and my wife, we're gone. We're gone. We're out of this stupid religion. We're done.
Reminds me of that story where that woman wanted to marry Muhammad because he was getting famous, and her family's like, "What? He's a womanizer." Other people recognize, but the brainwashed cult. Anyway, this is weird stuff. Mormonism equals Islam without the hummus. You saw Christian woman versus Muslim women video yet?
No.
Nope. I did see AP was apparently at Speaker's Corner today. Hopefully there's some footage of that. Baraka also drank the golden shower of Mo. Yeah. And,
accidentally, just to be clear.
Yeah, accidentally. It wasn't a weird sexual thing, but Muhammad seemed to find it really awesome and hilarious. Mary and Thaddeus are class acts. Much love.
Thank you.
D. Wood, you do not speak Egyptian. You do not know the truth because you do not speak the language that I so conveniently claim you need to speak to understand my revelation. God bless you all. That helps. Al-Zut pointed something at Muhammad. That's true. Remember the Battle of Nauvoo. We won't have any Diddy fiddler cult here in the U.S. of A. What's that one about?
Oh, the confrontation between Joseph Smith and locals turned really, really nasty. He was actually plotting to overthrow the government. I haven't gone into a deep dive of that yet.
Shocker.
But basically they were shoved out.
Hold on. So Paul Vitz, in his book, Faith of the Fatherless, when he talks about the impact this has, he says one of the ways this manifests itself is a rebellion against your own culture, your own society, your own culture, and so on. And then, of course, Muhammad ends up trying to make his own culture, his own group, follow him and obey him, and they refuse. So he eventually leaves, but comes back with an army, and then, hey, you have to convert or die. You're saying that Joseph Smith also wanted to take over?
Yeah, Joseph Smith gave this prophecy that if everyone didn't go and follow him as their new religious leader, that the Indians were going to rise up and slaughter all the people who didn't follow him. And he sent out all of these missionaries to try to convert a bunch of Indians to gather the army to slaughter everyone who wouldn't follow him. He also had a hit out on a government official that ended up being unsuccessful, but barely unsuccessful. He almost killed him. So yeah, he's not a nice guy. This whole, we're so oppressed. Well, yeah, when you're trying to overthrow the government, the locals around you aren't going to like you very much.
I have to say, given that picture of him and how nice these guys on bicycles are, I would think he's like the nicest guy in the universe. But looking at the real picture of him and hearing the real stories, it seems very different. It's like what Muslims used to tell us about Muhammad, and then you actually read the sources, and he seems the exact opposite of everything they're telling you. Abu Bagr al-Zuddadi says, I was the first to debunk Muhammad. But it's debunk. Get it? Debunk. My tribe defeated Muhammad at Mubutala. What's wrong with you? What's a bunch of AP's fans coming over here? We're trying to have a serious Christian apologetics show comparing Mormonism and Islam. In early Mormonism, did they execute apostates? I have no idea. Why are you asking me, man?
They would have if they could have. They kind of wanted to, but he didn't have the power.
You're in the United States of America, which protects you. First the Al-Zut thumbnail, now Bang Bros. Come on. Yeah, again, I'll change that. I was not paying attention to what certain things mean. I just went to the video on YouTube of Patrick Bateman's morning routine and left a comment saying, Orthodox lips, if you know, you know. Did I warn him or not? I was like, hey, you come over here running your mouth, dude. We are better at making these kinds of things stick than you are. So you will never live this down ever, and you're going to have to change your profile pic. And David, you started singing, and my dog ran out of the room. Haha, smart dog. Smart dog. Anything that sounds like that. Imam D. Wood singing happy birthday. It's a job. Classic Brother Rashid line. If you could create an app to help people share your message, what would you like to have? An app. We are going to put all the Islamic Dilemma material together onto a site. I would think converting the information. Guys, I don't use any apps. I use an app to get me into the gym. I have to click on it, and then a little scan code comes up and stuff like that. Other than that, I use my phone for like text and stuff. When people say apps, I'm still thinking like appetizers, like for dinner and stuff. So anyway, I don't know a lot about what they can do and what they're capable of. But if they could make something handy to where every person who wants to use the Islamic Dilemma has all the information like on his phone, to where he's talking to a Dawa guy and the Dawa guy says, no, that's not what that verse means. Go to the commentaries. Like, oh, I got all the commentaries right here. Now, let's read through them. Something like that. I don't know if that's a thing. It seems like it should be. You need to bring a knowledge Latter-day Saint, because the amount of misinformation about Joseph Smith in this video is embarrassing for all of you pathetic liars, especially whoever this girl is, because she's lying about everything she says. Well, we will take your word for that, Dylan.
Yeah, don't look at these newspaper clips I'm presenting. No, don't look at the court documents. That would be ridiculous. Yes. We should instead go to fair Latter-day Saints where they will lie to you.
Yeah, it's like, don't listen to what these Christians are saying about the Islamic dilemma when they're quoting our God and our prophet. Just go to a Dawa guy and let him tell you that Allah means the exact opposite of what he says. Muslims and early Latter-day Saints both get rampant abortions too. Really? I didn't know that. I didn't know that about that.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. This is in there. The crazy amount of abortions. Yeah, it's in the stack.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's creepy. That's totally new. Like some of the stuff people talk about, even though I don't know a lot about Mormonism, it's like, oh, I remember hearing that. Oh, that sounds similar to what I've heard before. Nope, that's brand new.
Nope. Because what did Muhammad say about the soul of children? Think about that. Yep. That they're up there, pre-created with Allah, gets sent down to the body. What does Joseph Smith say about the souls of children? They're made by mommy God and daddy God banging up in heaven to make star babies, and they're hanging out in heaven, and then they get put down in bodies. So what is a body before the soul gets put in it? Nothing. So if Joseph Smith has a chick who's showing a little bit of a bump, and he's like, hey, get rid of it. Guess what she did? She got rid of it. The numbers of abortions in the early Mormon community were very high. They were quite high because they had no problem with it, because they thought they were just throwing away body because they had this body-soul dichotomy.
Interesting. A couple more, and then we're almost through all these. Did Mormons go fully peacefully when William Tecumseh Sherman was commanding general of the U.S. Army? He was shocking but effective in his methods.
Pretty much. They were terrified of the U.S. Army coming in and slaughtering all of them.
That's weird. The Battle of Yomama Hamid is really Momo losing to Al-Zut intentionally. Apostates were on the other side of the Diddy line. No ratting on Momo. This is all good historical information. Poor Joseph missed out on the Al-Zut. He's like, oh, I got everything Muhammad has except for the Al-Zut. Smith ain't got nothing on Mo till he gets zooted. That's true. This is all true. Hi, guys. Mary, be careful with the reflection off your glasses. She's aware of the reflection, and she's got nothing on her computer to hide. Unlike some of the Dawa guys. Bet they've got some creepy stuff on there.
Yeah, well, Dean did a live stream, right, where he rebutted behind veils by showing the group chat. And he forgets that he's going to dox all the phone numbers of all the guys in there. So he stops the stream, and then he restarts it. And then he gets halfway through, and he's like, oh, I can't show this on the screen because all the numbers are still there. So these guys are just great geniuses.
Who was this?
Dean responds.
Oh, genius. Yeah, that genius right there. He was part of that whole Dawa Diddy group, wasn't
he? Yep, exactly. So he says that behind veils was very deceptive by not showing his brilliant argument that Aisha actually is mentally ill Therefore, Muhammad Hijab was fully justified in abusing her because she's mentally ill or whatever. And to prove his point, he shows the group chat, thus proving that the group chat is 100% real. They can't claim that it's not, right?
Oopsie.
He goes into the action group. But he forgot that
I'll
all the
prove
numbers
it.
are
Look,
visible.
here we are. What a
Yeah, exactly.
tactical geniuses, man. They wonder why Dawa was crumbling, and these are the tactical geniuses we get. Little side note: we've had multiple interviews with Sister Aisha. Does she come across as mentally ill or unstable?
No, not at all.
Nope. We've had multiple long discussions with her. She seems ticked off about what happened. Justifiably so. I would think there's something wrong with her if she wasn't ticked off about what happened. So yeah, I have to say, put it this way, there's nothing that I heard from Sister Aisha that would be more concerning than like the level of narcissistic personality disorder among Dawa guys, or Muhammad Hijab posting all these messages about golden showers and things like that. This all seems people who have mental problems, they eventually exhibit those mental problems, as we see with Muhammad and so on, and with all the Dawa guys and so on. Never seen anything like that from she seems to have crossed certain lines when she's like mad, when she's like curses children and stuff like that, which you can actually defend that from an Islamic perspective. But so she seems to have been really ticked off and let her emotions get the better of her at certain points, but mentally ill or unstable, nope. I pick up on that stuff, and I picked up on nothing with her. Let's see. What's this? You know that prickly, numb feeling you get when a limb falls asleep? I felt that in my brain when I was trying to read the Quran. That's what I'm saying. Thank you. Someone finally said it.
Yep.
If you do create an app, at the very top should be a search bar. So all you have to do is put the number of the Quran verse in, and it should bring up all of the commentaries and other info for it. You're talking to the wrong one. You're acting like I'm designing this thing. I'm not. This would be someone else. Say, I see. Look, here's all this information in this file. You put that into someone's phone. That will be the extent of my input. When do you think we will get the hijab group chat? I mean, Behind Veils just posted another video, and he basically, here's the thing. Everyone needs to share this video with a little warning. It's like all these other guys, you better do this or else. When Salman says, guys, here's what I'm about to do, I would take him very, very, very seriously. This guy doesn't bluff. He is completely serious when he says, here's what I'm going to do if you do not correct your course. Every single time he warns them, he gives them fair warning ahead of time. And he was doing this before we heard any of this. He's telling the guys behind the scene, look, here's what you need to do to get this right. Otherwise, here's what we're going to do. Oh, you will not do that. You're bluffing. Then he does it. Then he says, oh, I'm going to give you another chance. Here's what you can do to make this right. But if you don't, here's what I'm going to do. Oh, you will never do that. We will destroy you. And he does it every single time. And now he's posting, guys, here's your chance. If you're part of the Dawa Diddy group, now's your chance to contact me and say, hey, I condemn what happened and this and that, and I will not be coming after you. If you do not, I'm going to expose you. And all they said, oh, you will never expose us. Believe that, dude. If he messaged me right now, David, I'm coming after you, I'd be like, uh-oh, I don't know what he's got, but uh-oh, because I would believe that guy if he said he was coming after me. Anyway. All right, we ready to jump back into this weird stuff?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
All right, toss your presentation back up.
It says it's still sharing.
No. I'm just, are you ready for it?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
All right.
There we go.
All right. So we mentioned Muhammad and Aisha, how he pressured the girl's dad to basically let him have his way with her because he was the prophet. You can't deny the prophet. God says that this is a good thing, so it is. And then Joe Smith did that to his friend's 16-year-old daughter. His friend found out he was doing it behind his back. His friend found out, and then he tried to convince him that it was totally fine, and that mostly worked until the uncle came around and was like, what are you doing? Why are you letting him do this to your daughter? And this happened in March of 1832. So this is 10 years before he's like, I have a revelation. I can have tons of wives. So this is 10 years before that. He's messing with a 16-year-old. So this is a picture of her when she's much older. Keep in mind that a lot of these things happen in like the 1830s, 1840s. The pictures tend to be from like the 1880s. So none of us look as youthful as we did at 16 when we are in our 50s.
Yeah. So the point, guys, is don't be thinking that Joseph Smith wasn't into young hotties. This is not a picture of her when she was a young hottie.
Right. I just did this to humanize her as a human being, but obviously this is a picture from like nearly 50 years later. So the uncle finds out what's going on.
You said 50 years later? She's looking pretty good for being in her 60s.
Yeah, well, I mean, it might have been slightly less than that. It's hard.
Okay, I'm just saying, don't exaggerate. You're establishing standards that are difficult to match. If you're saying that this woman with her perfect brown hair, not a gray hair in sight, was in her 60s.
Okay, well, maybe she was in her 50s, possibly even 40s, because they aged hard back then. But she seems to be missing a lot of teeth to be 40s. But anyway,
her mouth is closed. She might have 500 teeth in there for all we know.
It's closed, but it's closed a little bit narrower than you'd kind of expect. But anyway, the mob came and dragged him from his bed, and it had many former members and until that point, current members of his group. These were not the evil townspeople against sweet Joseph, the true prophet. No, these were his followers. These were his followers who were mad that he was having sex with a 16-year-old. They had grabbed a doctor to castrate him, strapped him down to a board, stripped him naked, and unfortunately, the doctor chickened out, which is really pathetic. So that means that Joseph would continue victimizing women for many years to come. He would have done the entire universe a service if he had castrated them then, but he was like, no, I can't do that. So the girl was named Nancy Miranda Johnson, and she was a niece of Eli Johnson, who was the one who whipped up the crowd, and the daughter of John Johnson, whom he had briefly convinced that everything was fine. And then he started having sex with her again, because the family didn't even leave. Like, John Johnson didn't leave. I believe that Eli Johnson was like, I'm out of here. You guys are crazy. But John Johnson was like, oh, well, I guess everything was sort of all right. And she was 26, married to another man by this point, and then he made her one of his bonus wives who was already married to someone else so that he could bang her whenever he wanted. Really unfortunate.
Pretty ironic that they were going to castrate him over someone named Johnson. Isn't that weird?
Did not occur to me. But nice.
I'm just saying, it's like if you want to have these parallels, it's like Muhammad having a problem with dogs when the guy who's banging him is Dihya Kalbi, which means Dihya the dog. Anyway, there's all these weird little parallels like that. Small world.
Yep. So now we're moving into a section where the morality would magically change to accommodate the lusts of the prophet. So very famously, Muhammad limited everybody 4 wives, and Surah 6, verse 3. And he forced men who had more than 4 wives to divorce their extra wives, even though they had been married before they had become Muslim. If you have 18 wives, you become Muslim, you get to pick 4, kick the rest out. So no one, even those who had previously married extra women, were allowed to have more than 4 wives. And so Ibn Kathir is very serious about how if anyone had been allowed to, it would be the men who had extra wives previously. But since they weren't allowed, there's no situation in which you could possibly be allowed. Additionally, he put out rules against incest, which included things like, your daughters and stepdaughters, for instance. Your daughters who are your legal daughters through marriage, you're not supposed to have intercourse with them because this is incest. These are all Muhammad standards. And before he broke his own rules, he had his 4 wives. The red ones are the ones who are alive at the moment. And then he had a sex slave, because of course he said that you could have sex slaves. Didn't try to marry her at this time because, that's kind of his bonus bonus intercourse person through slavery. And, everything was fine. And then there's the famous story of Zaynab ibn Jahash, where he saw her when she was half dressed, accidentally. First, she had asked to marry him. She had wanted to marry Muhammad, but apparently she's a butterface. So she has an unattractive face, but a smoking hot body. And Muhammad only saw her face and was like, yuck. Well, you're my cousin, so I'll marry you off to my adopted son. You'll be his fourth wife, and everybody will be happy because I won't have to have intercourse.
You said, you're my cousin. I was thinking, well, you're my cousin, so I got to marry you.
Yeah, that's basically it. Like I'm obligated to provide sex to you in some way from my relation since you're my cousin.
There was on Saturday Night Live, there was a skit about a game show called Kiss Me, I'm Irish. And it's about like a Irish dating game when there's the guy and then he has to ask questions to the three Irish women and stuff and decide which one he wants to date. And it turns out two of them are his cousins. So this made it unfair to the non-cousin. Anyway, that's kind of how it is in Islam. So yeah, it's weird that he was willing to not marry his cousin to begin with, but apparently it all kicked in later. What am I doing? How dare someone else? How dare someone else be having sex with my cousin? If anyone's going to have sex with my cousin, it's going to be me.
Well, back then he only had 3 wives, so he actually had an opening in his roster. Like the wife who was technically number 5 had just died. She was called the mother of the poor. She was only or number 4. Number 4 had just died. And so he had one opening in his roster, but he's like, no, you're ugly. I don't want to marry you. But I'll marry you to my adopted son, and he won't say no. You'll be number 4 for him. And then he comes by to see his adopted son, Zayd, and catches her like half dressed and saw how smoking hot her body was and was like, I'm Allah. Praise Allah, who causes the hearts to turn, doesn't quietly go out in embarrassment. No, he exclaims loudly to make sure she knows that he saw her and thinks she's hot and runs away. And then Zayd divorces her knowing that he wanted her, and he makes up new rules.
Hey, hold up. Because I'm thinking about like big projects that will kind of take all year to go through in detail. But some of this stuff is information that, you wouldn't want to have a year-long project on it, but maybe see if anyone's noticed from the Islamic dilemma, it's like if people are kind of somewhat organized and on the same page of how a bunch of us are going to be pushing an argument so that everyone becomes aware of it. We could do that like in more limited fashion as well. Like we say, okay, here's a story we're all going to push for an entire month. Because this bothers lots of Muslims when they hear it. They don't know about it when they find out about it. When you actually read the story and you see how this ends up in the Quran and so on, and you see how Allah is justifying Muhammad taking the wife of his own adopted son, and the absolutely insane explanation he gives for why Muhammad needs to bang the wife of his own adopted son, it causes Muslims to doubt. In fact, I heard a talk by Abdul Saib or something like that. Yeah, the guy who co-authored Answering Islam with Norm Geisler. But he was explaining that he came to, I forget which country, but he came to a Western nation as a student. He said back then he thought that Christians and Jews believed in Muhammad, but they just don't emphasize him, right? So he thought, my religion, we believe in Moses and Jesus and so on, but we emphasize Muhammad. And he thought, Jews, they believed in all the prophets, including Muhammad, but they just emphasize like Moses most. And Christians, they believe in all the prophets, including Muhammad, but they just focus on Jesus most. He said he got there, he starts finding out. He's like, wait, what? He's talking to his fellow Muslims, like, do you know they don't believe in Muhammad? Do you know this? Anyway. He eventually started studying this stuff, and he said this is what started bothering him. This is what caused his doubts. He said that Allah explains this with Zaynab. Allah explains why Muhammad has to marry Zaynab so that other Muslims will understand that it's okay to take the wives of their own adopted sons. And he said, I just started thinking about this going, is this really a problem that men struggle with, that people are just sitting around going, oh, I really don't know if I should be taking the wife of my own adopted son. I don't know what to do. We need guidance from the great God Allah on whether we can bang the wives of our own adopted sons. He's thinking, who is this a problem for? It doesn't make sense that this is what the creator of the universe is. He's trying to deal with this problem when I've never seen that it's a problem. Like, who thinks is a problem? So anyway, he started getting suspicious, and that led him eventually out of Islam. But anyway, so the point is, more people need to be equipped with this material.
And, the Muslim community didn't take that excuse either. His first excuse was, and they're both in the Quran. There are two reasons. And the first one is, Allah made me lust after when I already had 4 wives, he wanted me to take a 5th, break the 4-wife rule, and also break my own incest rules to show that my incest rules weren't actually what I meant. And the people were just not buying it. So he revealed something else. That it's to say that you shouldn't have adoption. Get rid of adoption. But the other verse has already been revealed. And these are contradictory reasons. Either Allah did it so that you could bang the wives of your adopted sons, or to show that there should be no adoption. But if there's no adoption, you have no adopted wives' sons to bang. Both can't be true, but both are in the Quran.
Sounds like he's making this stuff up.
And because the people were so rebelling against him, and this was one of these things where this almost created a split. There were 2 times that splits, almost just huge ruptures almost happened in Muhammad's followers. And they were both about the people that he was getting prophecies about where he can put his penis. Because even to his brainwashed followers, they're like, this sounds ridiculously convenient. And this was the first major crisis. It was a crisis among his followers that made a bunch of them doubt him at that time. And Joseph Smith did the same nonsense. He said that God not only doesn't want you to do polygamy, but he hates it. He truly hates it. And in Jacob 1, which is still in the Book of Mormon, it says that the people of Nephi are doing began to indulge themselves somewhat in wicked practices. This is a wicked practice, such as like unto David of old, desiring many wives and concubines, and also Solomon his son. So it is wicked, according to Joe Smith's God, to do as David did and Solomon did and desire wives and concubines. And he goes on and on about how these are whoredoms and abominations. Whoredoms and abominations that these people are going to, the people are beginning to wax in iniquity doing these things. And there shall not be any man among you who have, save it be one wife, and concubines he shall have none. For I, the Lord God, delight in the chastity of women, and whoredoms are an abomination before me. Thus saith the Lord of hosts. So, and if you don't do this, the whole land will be cursed, and it'll be terrible. Yet even then, he puts up this teeny tiny little one. If I will raise up a seed, I will command my people. Otherwise, they'll listen to these things. So listen to me, unless somebody else tells you something else. And so all of these things that I've said are whoredoms, are abominations, and are wicked practices. Well, that could possibly be conditioned in the future, because at this time, Joseph Smith was already messing with the first girl, Eliza Winters. I get Eliza Snow and Winters mixed up because they have very similar names. Anyway, but then along in 1843, he goes public with the fact that he has been doing polygamy and says that God wants himself to do this. And if you reject this new covenant, you're damned. So you're damned if you do not accept this thing that same God previously called wicked practices, whoredoms, and abominations. But now there's a new covenant that says that you can do these marriages that are on earth and these marriages that are in heaven, and you can marry a whole bunch of people and it's all fine, but you have to do it with the power of Joseph Smith's authority, because otherwise the marriage doesn't really count for anything. And then also I commanded Abraham to bang Hagar, and that was good. God commanded Abraham, and Sarah gave Hagar to Abraham to wife. Like, that was because of his command. This was a law because God said to do it. Was Abraham therefore under condemnation? Verily I say unto you, nay, for I, the Lord, commanded it. So he's saying that what the Bible explicitly says was Sarah's own idea. And nope, God commanded it now. Abraham got concubines, etc., etc. And yeah.
Hold on a second, Mary. Does this mean that both Mormonism and Islam have a high regard for what Abraham did with Hagar, and in some sense are in the same line of
there you go.
Descendants coming from her instead of coming from Sarah, unlike the biblical prophets?
Right.
Interesting.
Because God apparently wanted him to do this, so this is important to him, right? So, and then he's like, the whole David and Solomon thing, that was great. That was fantastic. Nothing did they sin, saving those things in which they received not of me. So the wives and concubines were given unto him of me, and it's fantastic. The only sin was Uriah and his wife, that Uriah died. And that's funny because what Joseph Smith used to do whenever he wanted to have some sweet alone time with somebody else's wife whom he had just sealed to himself, he would send that person out on a mission trip. Maybe he died, maybe he didn't, but Joseph Smith got some snuggly time with the wife. So it's an interesting parallel to Uriah, isn't it? So anyway,
It's kind of like,
yeah,
kind of like some weird, kind of like a reverse mutta, like mutta was like, hey, we're out on this campaign and stuff. Can we hire some prostitutes? We're a long way away from our wives, and so it's focused on the guys. Whereas this is like, hey, you go out on a campaign, and I'll be back here with your wife.
Ha! Nice, perfect, absolutely perfect. And then here's the part where he's like, Emma Smith, if she does not stay to herself and partake not of that which I commanded you to offer unto her. So now this is a very interesting phrase. She has to stay herself, to control herself, and do not partake of what I commanded you to offer unto her. What was that? That was the hottie of the printing, the newspaper hottie, who had already left, by the way. But Joseph Smith had agreed to offer her men for her enjoyment. And after she got ditched the first time, it caused people to, like, that family to leave Mormonism. Joseph Smith thought better of it and was like, haha, that was only a test for you, which is odd because she wasn't the one who passed it. It was the husband and wife who ran away and were like, nope, we're done, who actually passed it. And they passed it by rejecting Joseph Smith. But anyway,
this hot young dude at the printer shop, he's like the Diha al-Kalbi of that day.
Something like that.
Hot young stud. So I have to say, you're pointing out all these parallels and stuff like that. That would be one difference. Muhammad, we know what he did with Diha al-Kalbi, whereas I haven't seen any evidence that Joseph Smith was like, well, let the printer come bang me then if he doesn't want to bang my wife. So I have to say that's a check in Joseph Smith's favor.
There we go.
Yep.
There we go. And so,
what is this document on the screen, Mary? Just for my clarification.
Oh, this is Doctrine and Covenants 132.
Okay, so it is scripture. Okay.
It is their scripture. This is scripture. This is all. So Mohammed, they're so alike. It's hard.
Well,
I mean,
so in the Quran, Quran, we have commands about Muhammad's wives and what he's supposed to do with them. This document written for guidance of all people. And now in Doctrine and Covenants, which is also guidance for all people, we have commands specific to Joseph Smith and his wives. That's very interesting.
The Doctrines and Covenants is basically the Quran of the Mormons. It really is, because it's Muhammad. See, again, Joseph Smith, Joe, standing up in front of everybody going, "Here, thus saith the Lord," and then speaking in very badly constructed, stilted attempts at sounding like the King James Bible, whatever he wants people to do. So in the same way that Muhammad would stand up and like scream at people and do whatever and have new revelations and new prophecies and new things, this is the Quran of the Mormons. But Muhammad had just had this previous book that was supposed to justify. Muhammad messed up. Muhammad said, "I'm giving you exactly what was revealed by the previous prophets, and that's going to justify me and prove that I'm true." At the same time, they was also including in there him just screaming at people. Joseph Smith was smart. He's like, "Here, I'm telling you all the secret history that will prove that I'm a true prophet. And then I'm also going to have all of my screaming at people as a separate revelation from God." So, he was clever about it. But
He's the upgrade.
Yeah, he is. He's
not the copycat. He's the upgrade.
There we go. So even in 1844, he just lied in public. He denies he's a polygamist, and he says, and dissenters. So what did this do? When he said, "Oh, I get to bang all these people," what happened? His followers split again. They'd split over him banging the 16-year-old, and they split again when they found out about his polygamy. A lot of them still thought the Book of Mormon was from God and was truly translated, because they were not terribly bright. And it was dealing with like issues of the day that people thought it's not as obviously a fraud if you're in the 1830s or 40s. And so they thought that it was truly a translated book from God, and then ran off and made their own churches because they're like, "Oh, he's just corrupt and he's just lying now. He's a fallen prophet." So it caused friction, it caused fractures, it caused dissension and division. But in addressing the dissenters at Nauvoo, who were like, no, we're not doing this. He's like, "I'm not a polygamist. What a thing it is for a man to be accused of committing adultery and having 7 wives, when I can certainly only find one. I am the same man, as innocent as I was 14 years ago. There's a truth. And I can prove them all perjurers, not a truth." So if I'm moving on to the next section, unless you want to bring up some more stuff or talk about anything.
Did you want to talk about something in particular?
Nope. I was just wondering, this is a good break time because we're about to talk about the messing with servants.
Ooh, messing with servants.
Yeah.
You have a couple of super chats we'll take real quick. Let's see. Is prophet misspelled on purpose?
It is in scare quotes, so indeed.
Now you know. Metamorphosis. Leather straps knowledge app is needed for show. The leather straps app. The leather strap, but it's spelled app. That'd be good. But grooming girls with your brother and dad is fine. Yeah, according to the grooming gangs. Kaibar's Barbecue says, "Pray for me. I want to be Christian, but I can't be one because of James 2:10-12. Sounds like you're just screwing around there, Kaibar. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? You didn't even spell Christian right. And then you spell it Kerstain. Let me go and read that for everyone. Good passage. James 2:10-20. For whoever keeps the whole law and yet stumbles at just one point is guilty of breaking all of it. For he who said you shall not commit adultery and also said, for he who said you shall not commit adultery also said you shall not murder. If you do not commit adultery, but you do commit murder, you have become a lawbreaker. So you're a lawbreaker, whatever law you break. Speak and act as those who are going to be judged by the law that gives freedom, because judgment without mercy will be shown to anyone who has not been merciful. Mercy triumphs over judgment. What good is it, my brothers and sisters, if someone claims to have faith but has no deeds? Can such faith save them? Suppose a brother or sister is without clothes and daily food. If one of you says to them, go in peace, keep warm and well fed, but does nothing about their physical needs, what good is it? In the same way, faith by itself, if it is not accompanied by action, is dead. But someone will say, you have faith, I have deeds. Show me your faith without deeds, and I will show you my faith by my deeds. You believe that there is one God? Good. Even the demons believe that and shudder. You foolish person, do you want evidence that faith without deeds is useless? And then you stop there at verse 20. Why'd you stop at verse 20? Anyway, it's the last verse you mentioned. Okay, so somehow that keeps Kaibar saying that, hey, if you're going to have faith, that faith better be accompanied by deeds or doesn't look like it's real faith. That apparently bothers Kaibar's barbecue. Let's see. The Book of Mormon actually agrees with Trinitarian Christianity more than it does with Mormonism, ironically enough. All of the weird stuff comes from the Doctrines and Covenants. Is that true?
Well, it tries to, but Joseph Smith was pretty dumb. So he thought that modalism was Trinitarianism. So the original version has the son saying that he is the father and things like that, because it just flat out taught modalism, because he didn't even understand what Trinitarianism was. But he thought it taught Trinitarianism. So
what you're
Hang on.
saying?
Wait, one quick question. Who understood Trinitarianism better, Joseph Smith or Muhammad?
Joseph Smith understood that there was one substance, did not understand what a person was. Muhammad didn't even know who was supposed to be in the Trinity at all.
But he knew the word three. He knew the word three. He knew it had
Yeah.
something to do with the word three.
So I think, in spite of everything, I still have to give the point to Muhammad or to Joseph Smith.
That's two extra points for Joseph Smith.
I know. At least he
Yeah.
knew.
Yeah, I gave him the extra point for not getting banged by the printer, unlike Muhammad and D. Hal College.
There we go.
All right. What were you saying, Thaddeus?
So I was going to say, hey, Mary, so you're saying that the Book of Mormon, which is, of course, only one of the four scriptures of Mormonism,
But the best
is what Muhammad was trying to do with the Quran. And then Doctrine and Covenants is what he was actually doing with the Quran. Right.
Exactly.
So not that Joseph Smith was successful either, but he was trying to replicate the original Christianity, right, with Book of Mormon. And then he was putting all his new special teachings and doctrines and covenants, whereas Muhammad just put them all together in one book because he's like, whatever, I already got a Quran.
I mean, he did, and he was smarter because he's like, I am miraculously revealing something in a new language, right? It's from God, it's in a new language, but he was smarter because he picked something that nobody had a copy of because they're the magic golden plates, and that get taken away by the dead spirit, because angels are actually necromantic spirits in Mormonism. They are not angels. That's taken away by the necromantic spirit back to Kolob or whatever, wherever it hangs out, or underground, I don't know. But Muhammad was saying, I am miraculously producing this in Arabia. But he's like, the proof is that it matches what the Jews and Christians have, except it doesn't. But Joseph Smith now has something that can't be matched to anything. Nobody can challenge him on it. Didn't think anybody would challenge him on the Book of Abraham either, until people went, oh yeah, that's the Egyptian Book of the Dead.
Yeah, that's pretty smart. Hey, I translated this from this. Oh yeah, let us take a look at that. It's gone. But trust me, bro.
Oh, the story of the people who testified that they saw it, they all saw it with the eye of faith and not the natural eye. He would go up to people and convince them to imagine it. And when they imagined it, he'd tell them that that's their eye of faith that has allowed them to see it. And they're like, wow, I got something special.
That's exactly what it looked like. Mm-hmm. Just don't ask anyone else who said the same thing, what they saw.
Well, the thing was, he was smart. He had the plates had made out of lead that he put under like a cloth, and he let anybody that he would later like try to persuade into imagining it, he let them feel it through the cloth, so they'd have an idea of the size, and they could feel the rings through it and the shape. Weren't allowed to look at it, but then whenever they saw it as golden in the eye of faith, their stories would basically match.
I have to say, Muhammad and Joseph Smith would be the last people on the planet I would trust if they say, hey, come feel what's under this cloth. How about no? Not interested, dude. Oh boy. Mort says, Behind Veils just dropped another video. I sent it on to you. Yep, I already watched it. Good stuff. That's one of his warning videos though, right? Like he'll have a video. You're like, oh, there's not a lot of cut, but it's him warning people. And as I already mentioned, he seems to mean what he says. So do not take him as someone who's bluffing. I played a game called Age of Empires, and in the multiplayer lobby, there was a guy named something like Zooting the Competition. I knew I had found a fellow David Wood listener. Love you guys. Nice.
Fantastic.
Nice. I bet that's the greatest player in the history of the game. Even Joseph Smith knew Islamic dilemma couldn't be refuted. Yep, that's true. And Nicholas DeSanto, Italian comedian, grinds Islam. Yes, he does. I've watched a number of his clips. All right. Ready to launch back into this?
Yes, we are. We're going to talk about servant troubles because that is the second thing that nearly caused a complete fracture among Muhammad's followers. So Muhammad, of course, just said that, if I have a slave, I can rape her. But Mary the Copt had given Mary the Copt to Hafsa. And Hafsa walked in on him having sex with her in her own bed and was like, my slave in my bed on my house, this is outrageous. And he promised he'd never touch her again. And Hafsa told Aisha, who was on her part, there were two big groups of wives who were like scheming against each other. And Hafsa and Aisha were in one group. And then Salama led the other one. But she went and told Aisha and Soda and Safiya, who were their little clique of wives. And so all the wives are kind of annoyed at Muhammad for having done this. And then Muhammad goes, wait, Allah says he didn't give me permission to make this promise, so I shouldn't keep it. If Allah has not told me specifically to make a promise, then I shouldn't keep any promise that I make from now on. Now, oaths were a huge thing in this culture. And the idea that Allah caused him to lust after a slave and have sex with a slave just to reveal that he could break his oaths seemed incredibly suspicious. And many people got extremely angry at him then. And there was enormous amounts of drama for the entire, and he divorced all his wives, gave everybody their first talaq, and went and pouted away for almost a month. And before he came back and was like, okay, I want to bang these wives again. I've been banging Mary for a month and I'm tired of her. Let's come back and bang these others again. And so this was a great deal of drama, even with all of the allowances that his rules had already given him to have intercourse with any of his slaves. Joseph Smith.
Pretty crazy, by the way. Like, I mean, because, we talk about this stuff pretty regularly and stuff, but this is along the same lines as the justification of Muhammad's relationship with Zaynab, in the sense that if you have a functioning brain, I don't even care if you're the product of 40 generations of first cousin marriage, you should see a problem with Muhammad swearing an oath and then Allah saying, hey, I didn't tell you to swear that oath, therefore you don't have to keep your oath. Like, okay, the incredibly overwhelming vast majority of oaths that have ever been taken were not directly commanded by God. You're talking like 99.9999999999999999999 and so on percent of all the oaths that have ever been taken were not directly commanded by God. And yet Allah says, hey, you swore an oath? You swore by the great God Allah that you would stop having sex with your slave girl? I didn't tell you that, and therefore you can go ahead and break it. Well, there just went all oaths. It's like when Muhammad is trying to justify having sex with his adopted son's wife, and then he has to say, oh, yeah, it's because Allah wanted to do this and that. And then you abolish adoption. It's like the stupid things he's doing and saying to justify his own immorality. These affect everyone else and everyone around him. And they screw people up, and they screw up his entire culture forever, all to justify him. I'm saying this because, I mean, this is what narcissists do. They will destroy everyone around them, all for themselves. You see that with Muhammad. You notice you still see it with people like Muhammad Hijab. Like, hey, there's people accusing me. Let me get all the other Dawa guys involved and get them all helping me lie, so that when this goes up in flames, they're all coming down with me. And I don't care, because it's all about me. This is wild stuff.
Yes, but David, you forgot that some of the hadith say the oath was about not eating a particular stinky food that annoyed his wives.
Sure
so
does.
That totally changes everything.
Yep.
Which is funny because, like, they'll freely admit, oh yeah, that's eating honey is just what's the word I'm looking for? A way of saying having intercourse without saying it explicitly. Like, it was an established way. Either way, it still means having sex. It's just a slightly less
Well, I mean,
specific way of
regardless,
doing
I mean,
it.
the real issue isn't so
Yeah.
much the sex acts, it's that he broke the oath that he made to Allah.
Yeah. And
Hey,
well,
Muhammad,
That
where
doesn't help you anyway.
Muhammad, where were you? I was over there eating honey with Dia al-Kalbi.
Nice.
What were you doing last night, Muhammad? I was eating honey with the men of al-Zut.
Yep. And this was pretty late. So remember, he's been making O's left and right for like 20 years now, nearly. Not quite that long, but pretty close to it. And Mary the Copt is a fairly new addition to Medina, and Allah's never told him before that he gets to break his oaths, but suddenly whenever he wants to have sex with this girl, well, now Allah has revealed this new thing that he spent 10 plus years never saying, was not the rule, and now suddenly it is somehow. So Joseph Smith did not have the kind of allowances already built into the culture. Messing with your servant girls was very much frowned upon and was a good way to possibly even get you lynched back then, depending on which servant girl you were messing with in the American culture of the 1830s. There was a Frenchman who noted that girls could walk out with boys with perfect safety because the boys knew that if they went beyond the bounds that their lives would be forfeit. And that was Tocqueville writing, I think, in the not that much earlier. It was after the Revolution. So this was not looked upon kindly. And he either attempted to seduce or actually did rape a servant girl named Miss Hill. We don't know her full name. She was angry because of his action. First of all, because he had done this, and also because rumors his behaviors towards her had started. And this all happened while his wife was like in confinement, about to have a baby in postpartum during that time. Like, Joseph Smith got cut off from sex for a very short period of time, and he starts assaulting a servant girl. She told Emma about it, and Joe admitted to Harris that this accusation was mostly true. He straight up admitted that it was mostly true, which, of course, if he admitted that, meant that it was all true. And that was laid toward the later part of 1832. Clarissa Reed, who is 18, she left in 1833 to marry someone else, but she testified to her son that he had tried to convince her to be one of his wives, even this early, like, oh, we'll be secret wives. I'll be having sex with you while you're cleaning the house. And God really wants this kind of nonsense. That's a picture of her over on the side. Again, much older, but real person. She really went through this. The most famous one is Fanny Alger, because he was having sex with her in the barn when they were found by Emma. Emma, walked in on them having sex. This was in 1835, and that caused great fitna, because there was an eyewitness to this adultery, and Emma threw her out of the house in the middle of the night, again, blaming the girl more than her dirty, rotten husband. And this caused the beginning of a lot of splits within the Mormons. The Mormon groups began splintering off. They still believe the Book of Mormon for some insane reason, basically because it sounded like the Elizabethan English of the Bible, and they were very impressed by that. But they didn't believe that he was a true prophet anymore. They thought that he had become completely corrupted. So what's really messed up is that there is an incest angle with both of these guys. Fanny Alger was adopted by Emma and Joseph Smith before he seduced or raped her while she was a live-in servant. This was the first form of the sealing ceremony that he invented. Oh, we'll make a sealing ceremony and I'll adopt her as my daughter. This was to allay the fears of the parents based on the fact that he had messed with like every other servant girl it had. So he's like, oh no, let her live with me. I shall adopt her. She will be like my daughter. And of course, he messed with her anyway. And Muhammad famously married his adopted son's wife. So really interesting little incest twist linked to adoption that you would not expect, huh?
Yep.
So
by the way, lots of these issues could be put into separate videos. You know what I mean? Like you tell tell a little story of Fanny there, and just compare that with the story of Muhammad and Zaynab, and boom, that's a video.
Yep. Yes, it is. The relative lack of children is also a point of interest. Muhammad was probably actually infertile for his life. He wanted kids. The actual fathers, I suspect, were other people for all his children. Abu Talib for his 4 recognized daughters, and the quote-unquote brother, who was probably no such thing, who came with Mary the Copt, was probably the father of Ibrahim. Now, Joseph Smith, he had his side pieces abort any children that were plausibly his, except for a potential Fanny Alger and Eliza Winter's illegitimate children. He also likely used coitus interruptus or a condom, which did exist back then. Josephine was attributed to him by Sylvia Porter Lyon, but appears to actually not be his. So he seems to have gotten all of his children on other women aborted before they were born successfully. So, and we covered why he thought abortion was fine, and abortion was very widespread with polygamy activities in the early Mormon communities. And he liked them young. They both liked young girls. Now, Joseph Smith would seal people to him just to shut them up and then never actually sleep with them. But there is a strong pattern, and there's no real indication that any of the young girls he chose not to sleep with. But he would target them. The older ones typically like asked him, and he'd like, okay, I shall have this ceremony, and you will be my god wife later on, and you can have star babies with me in the afterlife. But with the young ones, he would chase after them and basically almost threaten them into letting him marry them. And so the green stripe here shows the normal age range that you would expect with a man of his age. So his age would be along that center stripe there, and the 0 age group or 0 year age gap would be most typical. And then 89% of couples would fall within the green range. And yet he very often went way below it with folks that he certainly consummated marriages with. So he also did some retroactive Hoary Hair members where after he was like, oh yeah, we're doing the sealing thing, and sealed with people that he had previously said, yeah, God's totally given you to me. There are the Lucinda Pendleton Harris almost certainly did not have she was sealed in 1846. That means he was banging her under some other pretense that God has allowed this some other way for years before he eventually had this marriage farcical ceremony. And she eventually just realized that this was a fraud, ditched both her husbands and Mormonism, and left. But she was the first one that he really convinced to get into this whole thing. She was into all sorts of occult nonsense anyway, so she was super susceptible. But he started doing this more like, this works. I can get these women to do this. And then in 1841, it's still not really a regular thing. By 1842, he's having these actual ceremonies regularly and just hiding them from Emma and pretending he's not doing them. But I wanted to mention some of the other kind of incestuous type of marriages. Muhammad, again, Zaynab, and he loved many of his first cousins. So his adopted son's wife loved marrying the first cousins. Joe married sisters at the same time, married the mother of one woman, probably didn't actually consummate with the mother, but still super messed up, and married 2 very young sisters in the same month. And I would bet a lot of money that he consummated with both of these. So yeah, not attractive. Muhammad also behaved suspiciously around daughter figures the same way, beyond the Zaynab incest thing. We have his activity toward Salama's daughter, whom he regarded as a close blood relative and so was unable to marry. But it was so suspicious that Salama's best friend, Habiba, comes to him and goes, "Hey, you're going to marry this girl, aren't you?" And he's like, but can she be married along with Salama, her mother? Even if I had not married her mother, she would not be lawful to me, for her father is my foster brother, basically saying that there are other relationships through nursing that prevent me from marrying her. That is messed up because it shows that his behavior around his stepdaughter was so sus that people are like, you're going to marry her, right? Because you're doing stuff that makes us expect that you better marry this girl. And imagine saying that to someone. Just crazy. And go ahead.
The craziest part for me when I hear about the stuff with foster relatives through breastfeeding, suckling, and so on, is how that contrasts with the story of Muhammad and Zayd and Zaynab, because so people come to Muhammad, I have to go out of town. I have to go do this and that. My wife's going to be at home with this young stud. How do I know that she's not going to commit adultery while I'm gone? Muhammad's response is, hey, just have her breastfeed him 10 times. That will go ahead and get rid of any sexual temptation, because then he'll be like her son. And supposedly that's supposed to work. Oh, well, this woman breastfed me, even though I'm a grown man, but she breastfed me now. And so now I'm the equivalent of her son. And therefore I know that we cannot have sex. Okay. So suppose we took that seriously. Is he actually her son? No. Has her breastfeeding him done anything to make him her real son? No. So you have to say, you don't have to be an actual son for this stuff to apply. Okay, so suppose we take that seriously. Now you've got the story of Muhammad and Zayd and Zaynab, and Muhammad has an adopted son. Muhammad eventually takes his adopted son's wife as his own wife. And the justification in Surah 33, verses 4-5 is, well, your adopted sons aren't your real sons, so the rules about incest don't apply because they're not your real sons. It's like, wait, we know it's not his real biological son, but adopting someone makes some new relationship, and so you have to take that relationship seriously as part of who you're not allowed to have sex with. You need to take that seriously. But Allah's response is, well, they're not your real sons, so this stuff doesn't apply. They're not really your sons. Okay, you have to pick one, Allah. You have to pick one here. If you're going to say, well, Zayd isn't your real son, therefore rules about having sex with his wife don't apply. Okay, well, breastfeeding someone doesn't make that man your real son. So why does the rules suddenly apply there? You're not allowed. No, it would be like incest. It would be like incest. Well, it's not your real son. So what are you saying here? That's the point. It's all pick and choose. It's completely 100% pick and choose, and it makes no sense. So if you want to say, hey, these kinds of adoption relationships and so on, they're not real, and therefore they don't apply if you're going to talk about incest or something like that, fine, then it shouldn't apply with the breastfeeding an adult. Or if you want to say, nope, you breastfeeding an adult, that even though it's not your real son, the rule still applies. Okay, why wouldn't it apply in the case of adoption? The guy's clearly just whatever he decides in his sick mind at any point, no matter how inconsistent it is with everything else he's ever said. They just mindlessly accept it. Super creepy.
Well, there is another alternative. Muhammad may have believed that it did make you actually related to one another.
Because it actually affects your development and stuff. Yeah.
Well, because they had weird teachings, they thought that like your blood became breast milk that could either turn into a fetus or could be expressed to feed a baby. So like it's the same fetus stuff so it is kind of making a baby. But then now you have to accept that as true. So either he's being incredibly inconsistent, or else children are related to their mothers because of the nourishment process, which is completely insane because now you are what you eat in quite a weird, messed up way. Like if I ate chicken, then I am now descended from chicken.
If I drink
Mary,
if I drink goat's milk, then I'm a goat.
Oh,
Zakir Naik proved that the reason you can't eat pork is because then you'll behave like pigs, you know? So.
There we go.
And well, you got to remember his proof. He said there's a scientific thing.
Yep, exactly. It's a scientific thing, Mary.
For anyone who doesn't know what we're talking about, it was Zakir Naik, and he said, and there's a scientific thing. You eat pig, you behave like pig. It's like there's a scientific thing. That's your explanation.
So weird.
So
I think
Zakir
Naik was drinking a little too much goat's milk.
It sure isn't camel pee. Mm-hmm. Drink camel pee, become camel pee. Something like that.
Hey,
it's so weird.
Zakir Naik proves Muhammad was camel's pee. That's it. That's all you need to say. And then show the clip, and then that's it. Ball game.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah. So, and then there's the incredibly creepy way in which he used to come into Fatima and Ali's house after they'd gone to bed multiple times. He would just like come into their house while they're in bed, which is weird. Like, my father doesn't come into my bedroom while I'm in bed with my husband. That's messed up. That's just messed up, guys. But
hey, what's going on in here? What's going on? Let me check things out. I'm the prophet.
Yeah, so then when Fatima is whining about not having slave girls, and the reason Muhammad wouldn't give her slave girls is because he knew that Ali could never keep it in his pants and was out there doing muda like a crazy man every time they left town. So he didn't want to give her slave girls because Ali would just have sex with them all the time, and then Fatima would be upset because Ali was having sex with them, and then Muhammad couldn't tell Ali no because everybody else was having sex with their slave girls. So that was the whole thing behind that. But she was complaining about this, and Muhammad came to talk to her about it. And then Muhammad decided to visit them in bed. And when they wanted to get up, he's like, no, stay where you are. And then he came and he sat between them. He got in bed with them, and then told them that you should say these things instead many times.
Mm-hmm. Ah! Just continue on. I like to watch. I mean, I'm just the prophet observing.
Don't mind me. Just pretend I am a mere fly upon the wall. I'll stand behind the line.
Can you imagine like someone is in bed with their spouse? If you're a man, your father-in-law comes in and gets in the bed between you, sitting down. And
now go at it. Pretend I'm not here. Pretend I'm not here in between you. Pretend I'm not the meat in this love sandwich. What the heck is wrong with this
It's
dude?
weird. I don't care when this was. This is weird. And then there is this whole narrative of marrying the widows out of pity. Habiba is supposed to be a pity marriage, but it was really just to really tick off her male relatives who were Muhammad's main enemies. Like, aha, I'm banging your daughter and sister. What you gonna do about it? That's the real reason. But let's just pretend that wasn't the real reason. And he's marrying them out of pity. And then Joe was specifically said to have married one particular widow out of pity. Oh, so much pity. They also both got fake revelations to make women feel special. Oh, God told me I'm supposed to marry you specifically. And the story of Jibril bringing Aisha under the blanket to make her feel special, and that's why he chose her. That nonsense. And Joe told one girl that God had told me you were to be my wife when you were 12 years old. But I didn't bother say anything when you married another man because I really only like to have sex with other men's wives. Apparently, because he really liked to have sex with he loved having sex with his followers' wives. That was like his thing. That really made him happy. And he said that to a 23-year-old that, God told me when you were 12 that you were to be my wife, so now you have to marry me. And she was dumb enough to believe him.
It is interesting, like that feeling of power and control that would give you, similar to being able to go over and tell your best friend, hey, give me your daughter. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, adopted son, I want your wife. Okay. They just mindlessly do whatever I want. Now that is power.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And there is like this entire list of women that Joseph Smith either successfully manipulated or tried to manipulate and failed. When she was 17, this girl, Lucy Walker, was like, oh, if you believe that I'm a prophet, God commanded me to take you. So otherwise, if you don't do what I told you and let me have you, then you're disobeying God. Period. And it will be a blessing to her father's entire house. So your whole family will suffer if you don't do this. And so she's like, she spoke to her father and she's like, why am I the one who's chosen? Because I am only a child in years and experience. 17 was very young back then. I want to be very clear. 17 is not the usual age that people were getting married. It was in their 20s. So she's saying, I'm still a child. Why is he coming after me? And father's like, oh, but our prophet said so. You have to do what he says because he's our prophet. And she gave in. And she said, it's not a love matter, period. I gave myself up as a sacrifice to establish that grand and glorious principle that God had revealed to the world. So pathetic. So,
well, I mean, if you believe that Joseph Smith is the prophet, right? And, you have this principle that you can bind souls together and then they share the same destination. So you bind to Joseph and you're guaranteed a good destination. So that's kind of the idea, right? That she's sacrificing her earthly happiness for her eternity. Of course, she's wrong, which makes it all the more sad.
Yeah. But her family too, like, oh, it's a good deed that will make your father have his own planet. Like, it's just so messed up. And Muhammad did the same nonsense to Salama. Whenever Salama's husband died, she rejected anybody who came to him. It's like, I don't want to marry anyone who's going to marry other women. I can only stand to be a monogamous wife. I am super jealous. I hate sharing a husband. Don't want to do it. And I also have a young daughter. don't want to bring her into a household with another man. I want to just raise her. And what happened was that Muhammad's like, oh, I will supplicate Allah and he may free you of her responsibility. And also, I will supplicate Allah to do away with your jealousy. So you won't be jealous anymore because I will pray to Allah to remove your jealousy. This was, of course, a famously epic failure because the entirety of the Shia Sunni split is tracked back to this moment, to this marriage. Fatima already didn't particularly care for Aisha, but Salama was very close friends with Fatima, and she loathed Aisha and really got Fatima on her side to try to reduce the power and influence of Aisha, largely unsuccessfully, and were even behind part of Salama's crew was behind part of the affair of Ifk.
But just to be clear, you don't mean behind in the zut sense, right?
No, not in the zut sense, but in the accusing her of infidelity sense. So Aisha was accused of infidelity by Zaynab bint Jahash's sister, and Zaynab was another buddy of Salama in that group who hated Aisha. So and then that was a time when Ali did not back her up and was like, marry another one. There are plenty of women. Get rid of this one. Get another one. And Sunni-Shia split right there.
And you have a whole video on that, which I just put in the chat if people want to learn more.
Yep. It's the mama drama that caused the Sunni-Shia split. And then Juwayriya was another one that Muhammad manipulated into marrying him.
Because she got Jew in her name.
Something like that. Actually, one of the two Jews just was able to completely reject him. Rayhana never married him. She's like, yeah, keep me a slave. I'm not going to believe that you're a prophet. But Juwayriya.
How crazy is that, Mary, that someone would be like, I'd rather be a slave than marry Muhammad?
Yeah. Mary the Copts did too. Like some of them were like, oh, we've heard from some people that they converted, but other ones say no, they would never converted in their lives. And because there are these two different narratives, you know which one's true. It's the embarrassing ones. Mm-hmm. They never converted. They never converted. So she got captured after all of her family, after her town was attacked, family killed, and she's like, look, I was the daughter of a chieftain. How can I live life as a slave? Please take pity on me and free me. And he said, ooh, you're a hottie. So tell you what, you marry me and you'll have a high position again. Because what's a higher position than the status of a wife of a prophet? Just marry me and you won't be a slave anymore. And I'm sure everybody will treat the family of the wife of a prophet really well. So she really had no choice. It was either be some nobody's rape slave or be a wife of Muhammad and get her family rescued. And she chose the second. So back to Joseph Smith again. And again, this is a picture of her when she's very elderly. She was very young at this time. But
it's a pretty cool name.
Yeah, Cordelia Callista Morley. Pretty cool name.
That's like the weird dumb things I think about when I'm reading stuff on the screen. It's like some of them are like Emma and stuff like that, and there's still people named Emma. But then it's like Fanny, and it's like, hey, that used to be a popular name, and now it's not. And so you see, yeah. Anyway, and then Cordelia, like you can understand with Fanny because Fanny, sounds like a rear end. So you understand why you wouldn't want to name your daughter Fanny anymore after that became a word for rear end. But Cordelia, that sounds like a name that should still be a name.
Yep, it's the faithful daughter of in King Lear, along with Reagan and, oh my goodness, my brain has left me. The other one, Reagan and Goneril. There we go. Reagan and Goneril are the bad daughters. Cordelia's a good daughter. All right, so it's got a cool story with it too. This is her own narrative. She says, in the spring of 1844, plural marriage was introduced to me by my parents from Joseph Smith. So here he is going, give me your haughty little daughter. And they're like, okay, prophet. Asking their consent and a request to me to be his wife. Imagine, if you can, my feeling to be a plural wife, something I never thought I could be. I knew nothing of such religion and could not accept it. Neither did I then. I told him I had a sweetheart and I expected sweetheart to marry me. He ditched this crazy cult and took off, but she never married him during his lifetime. She's just like, no, you're revolting, get out of here. After he died, she basically got manipulated into getting sealed to him forever because he had wanted her. But she married someone else and cared for her husband, Walter. But she got sealed for eternity to Joseph Smith. And because, unfortunately, she believed he was a prophet, she's still sad about this because she thinks she will actually make his star babies forever and would rather be with her husband, the one that she actually loved. So
would this be similar to Muhammad claiming that he gets to marry all the women of biblical history, including the mother of Jesus, in paradise?
Yep. If he gets her in paradise, she refused him here, but he's going to get her in paradise. Nancy Rigdon was one who completely escaped him, and the story is hilarious, so I have it here. She basically got lured into, she was 19 years old, she got lured into over to one of his other polygamous wives' houses, where Joseph Smith came in and locked the door while the owner of the house was not there. And she said, and he began telling her that he had long loved her and he had asked God for her, and it was his holy will that he should have her. And he said she would alarm, and she said she would alarm the neighbors if he didn't open the door. I'm going to scream. Open the door, let me out, I'm going to scream. And then she went and yelled at the woman whose house it was, requested Mrs. Hyde to explain matters to her. Basically, what do you think you are doing, allowing this to happen, allowing him to lock me in a room, etc., etc.? Joe swore to secrecy. Mrs. Hyde told her that these things may look strange to you at first, but you'll become more reconciled on mature reflection. And she's like, I never shall. And anyway, so Joseph was like, I'll write you. And she just kept the letter, but she's just like, no, I'm not doing it. Go away. And another one has someone else's narrative of the same thing. But yeah, she threatened to scream. I'll bring the entire neighborhood if you do not let me out. So, and similarly, there was one woman who famously escaped Muhammad and several others who did as well. So he went to a garden where there was this young, beautiful widowed woman, and he went into the garden where the woman was, and he says to her, give me yourself in marriage as a gift. And she said, can a princess give herself in marriage to a commoner? And he raised his hand to supposedly pat her so she might become tranquil. But she immediately thought that he was about to punch her in the face by her reaction. And she said, I seek refuge with Allah from you. And then that made him unable to touch her. Now, what's interesting is the phrase, I seek refuge with Allah from whatever, is used for stuff like spells, evil jinn, nasty things. So if refuge can be sought in Allah from Muhammad is one of these blightful things that would come upon you without using the magic formula of escape from evil, which I find hilarious. So anyway, he left after that because she escaped him. There were several others. A woman was forcibly married to him. She would not let him have sex with her. She's just like, nope, get out. And then after Ibrahim died, she said something like, if he were a prophet, his son wouldn't have died. And then he triple talaqed her, and she had to spend, and she had to go away. Another one said that, I was not consulted about this marriage, and I seek refuge from Allah with you in the name of Allah again. and she got sent back. So the complete count of wives for Mo with definite consummation, we are at 11 total. We have an unknown number of other. There are a whole bunch of female slaves that Muhammad had. We are not sure how many. We know that the first two he had sex with Baraka too. We don't know how many of these other women that he had intercourse with. And some of these women were given to him by his wives, so they were almost certain given to him for the purpose of sex.
And it's like, hey, stay away from me and just go do stuff with her.
Yeah. Or
you can come back after you had your bath.
Yeah. Or it's you've stopped.
I will never take a bath.
I
will never take a bath unless it is with from the water from the well of Buddha.
But some of this might be like, you've stopped giving me as much nice things and I'm not as haughty to you anymore. So here's a slave. And if you really like her, maybe you'll give me more stuff. That might also be part of it. So yeah, a lot of women. Joe also married a 14-year-old, and that is pretty much as outrageous now as it was then. Keep in mind, normal age for marriage for women was early 20s to mid 20s was a typical age of marriage.
Not according to Daniel Hakikachu. So who are we supposed to believe? You are the biggest liar we've ever run into in our entire life.
So
and not the age for Yasser Qadi's grandmother either, apparently.
Yeah. Yes, those people from,
he likes to brag about how young his grandmother was.
Both of my grandmothers were well over 30 when they finally married. So it's so funny. They're like, oh, there used to be children then. I'm like, not my family.
Daniel's
I married way younger than they did.
Daniel's like, but my grandmother was once a 4-year-old. So what's wrong with it?
Pretty much. So she got basically manipulated into it. Could not escape. Father asked me if I would be sealed to him. He said, if you will take this step, it will ensure your eternal salvation and exaltation and that of your father's household and all your kindred. So if you don't do this, your entire family is no longer assured their own planets as gods. You do this, they get to be gods. You don't, then they don't. And she said, this promise was so great that I willingly gave myself to purchase a so glorious reward. But her own poetry shows that she was unwilling emotionally. Like she willingly gave herself, meaning that she made the agreement, but she hated it. She hated being married to him. She had a lot of poetry that talks about her sadness and about how she had basically thought that maybe it wouldn't be involved, but then it was. This is evident from her poetry. If you read it, it's really, really sad. This teenager who just feels used because she was. So they both have implausible stories involving angels. Muhammad's story again of Jibril giving him baby Aisha under a blanket, basically.
One second.
Yeah?
Let's pause real quick.
Yep.
Let's pause real quick. No, go ahead for a second. There's a Muslim I want to respond to, but go ahead.
Okay. We're nearly at the end anyway. So,
okay.
So Joseph said that this angel came to him and to tell him to start taking tons of wives 3 times, the last in February of 1842, even though he'd been telling women they were sealed to him for years before this and doing actual ceremonies for a year by this point. And he's like, the angel came to me and he said, you have to take more wives. And Joseph says, no. And then sometime later, the angel came to me. He said, you have to take more wives. And then I said, no, far be it from me to do this terrible thing. And then the angel came to me. He said, I will kill you unless you take more wives in February 1842. And so I went, okay, if I must, if you'll kill me if I won't, I shall do it, even though people will see this wrongly and they will think I'm disgraceful. When in reality, he'd been doing this for years. So this whole, he had to threaten to kill me, just total nonsense. And Helen was told and believed this poor sucker, this was that 14-year-old, had it not been for the fear of God's displeasure, Joseph would have shrunk from the undertaking and would have continued silent as he did for years until an angel of the Lord threatened to slay him if he did not reveal and establish this celestial principle. So pathetic, and just absolutely depraved. So, now, Joseph Smith had a whole bunch more side pieces. Older ladies would get jealous. They began throwing themselves at him as this word got out. And these are the ones that are plausibly the eternity-only sealings. One of the reasons that he had this teaching of these eternity for time and eternity, for just eternity, so that he could have a sealing and then never have to have sex with anybody he didn't want to. This is just a list of some women after this point, some of whom he was having intercourse with, some of whom he wasn't. But Muhammad, on the other hand, said that women can offer themselves to me, but then he says, but I can refuse them. And that way he got out of banging people he didn't want to bang. One of the most ridiculous ones of these is Eliza Snow. Oh, wait. This one's Eliza Snow. The previous one was Eliza Winters. Eliza Snow's quite a bit older. She was a single older woman, and she was writing screeds claiming Joe wasn't a polygamist, even as he was having intercourse with her. Like, he had married her, he had sealed to her, and was visiting her. And there are several stories of her having gotten pregnant and getting thrown down the stairs by Emma, or having some altercation with Emma that resulted in her having a miscarriage of Joe's child. These are not necessarily true, but they are possible, considering that she would not have wanted to abort her child since she had no children of her own at this point. Anyway, Joe dictated the revelation on polygamy after the public revelation on July 12th. And so all the Mormons knew at this point, rather than just the ones who had gotten the word through the grapevine. But there were a whole bunch more that he had after this point. One that's super messed up is a 17-year-old who was his son's close childhood friend. She would come over to the house to visit her son because they were close. And he's like, my son knows this girl and this girl is hot. I'm going to take my son's girl. And then he had her married to another man because
That sounds familiar.
Yeah. He was sealed to her for eternity, and after enjoying humiliating his own son for 9 months, he let her marry another man. And the ones that are highlighted here are quite young. Nancy Maria Winchester, who was either 14 or 15, and Flora Ann Woodworth, who was 16. Just very, very messed up dude. So this is the last people that he was known to marry. He had a much larger body count, if you don't count Muta, than Muhammad. So outstripped him in that way. All right, that is the end of the presentation. A lot of really interesting things in there. A lot of really interesting things. So
before you go to what you wanted to go to, David, I just wanted to put on the record. I checked. Yasser Qadi claims his grandmother was 13 years old when she was born.
And so you can see, by Islamic standards, she was a senior citizen.
Exactly.
So gross.
Crazy stuff. Yeah, Mary, there's like 20 videos worth of stuff just in that.
Yeah, I know. It just takes a lot to make it. So if anybody in the audience wants to make videos comparing some of these things, you can go and find the sources. They're pretty easy to look up with testimonies in court and people's letters and things like that. You can find the stuff. Go for it, please.
All right. On the Muslim I wanted to respond to, he's been spamming some comments and so on. But let's have a little fun, because we want to show always what Dawa does to your brain. And watch him either not answer or run. He's been posting various comments on various issues. Let's go ahead and we'll give him an easy one. Adiz.
Oh gosh, it's him.
Adiz says Judas died on the cross. Adiz, if you're in the chat and you keep like spamming random stuff, obviously you're looking for attention. Okay, we're going to give you attention right now. We're going to give you attention for a couple minutes. Give us evidence for this. Give us a source that any sane person ever would take seriously on this. Hey, Adiz. You were just posting. You were just posting like 2 minutes ago. So we're actually going to pause and give you an opportunity to tell us why we should believe. Because the point we're trying to make is you guys just hear stuff all your lives and you just hear it and you hear this idiotic nonsense from your imams and you believe it because your imam said it when there's absolutely no evidence for it anywhere ever. And you guys you mindlessly accept and agree with anything, no matter how insane, no matter how stupid. You'll just believe it. So, Adiz, we're waiting. You got anything? And this is the situation where suddenly he's just going to disappear, right? Disappear. He's been posting stuff over and over again. Soon as we pay the slightest bit of attention to him, hey, check this one out. I'll just go on to the next thing he was posting. This is apparently when we were mentioning something about Muhammad banging a prepubescent 9-year-old girl. He says, but King Richard II married Isabella, who was 6 years old.
This is actually one of my favorite stories, okay? Because it shows how depraved Muhammad was in comparison to a random English king who were no means the standard of morality, right?
Yeah. In other words, just to be clear, if we had said King Richard II married 1,000 one-year-old babies and was an axe murderer, would that be some huge problem for people who do not believe in him, do not accept him as a source of divine revelation, do not accept him as a pattern of conduct? Would it be remotely relevant to anything we believe?
Nope.
That's right. Did you catch that? Did you catch that? Adiz. Adiz, did you catch that? We don't, again, just to be clear, a random king could be an axe murderer and the sickest pervert ever. What would that have to do with us? Do you think that we approve of everything every king has ever done? And if you were to point out this king did this, we would go, oh my goodness, if a king did that, then we just think it's okay. We have to say it's okay. Do you think that, guys, this is not about Adiz here. We're trying to make a point about what Dawa does to your brain. They are programmed to post meaningless responses because their community accepts any stupid, idiotic response as a decisive refutation. But just check this out.
So,
ready? Look.
Yep.
Look at this. Ready?
But it gets better.
Yeah, so check this out. After the wedding, Isabella went to England and was moved to Windsor Castle in Berkshire. She had her own court, supervised by a governess and chief lady in wait. See, guys, this is actually a political marriage, right? Now, look, you get down to the paragraph in the middle. In spite of their age difference and the marriage being politically arranged, Isabella and Richard developed a mutually respectful relationship. Due to the age of Isabella, the canonical law for sexual consummation being 12, meaning you could not have sex with a wife before the age of 12. You are not allowed, according to canonical law, to have sex with a girl before she reached 12. So even if she's 6 when the marriage is being arranged, you are not consummating that marriage before she's 12. Due to the age of Isabella, the canonical law for sexual consummation being 12, the marriage was never sexually consummated. So we've got Adiz. We've got Adiz who's still posting. Who's still posting? Wait, hang on.
David.
Hang on. What's he posting? He's posting Bawa Muhyiddin Fellowship, Philadelphia, PA, Overbrook. We asked you for a source on Judas dying on the cross. That's your response? We're going to go to a mosque? We're going to go to a mall. We'll go to the mosque. Hey, what's he even mean there? I think he means something like, this is where I heard it. That's what they told me. So that's my source. Okay. And in response to your prophet having sex with a prepubescent 9-year-old girl, you say, here's what some random king did. Why? Because he's been programmed to say this. And it's a marriage. It's a politically arranged marriage between a king and a young girl. And the marriage was never consummated. He never had sex with her. So this is supposed to answer what, how? And guess what, ladies and gentlemen, here's the takeaway. You can line up 100,000 Dawa fans, 100,000 Dawa fans like Adiz, and ask them, hey, if someone points out that your prophet had sex with a prepubescent 9-year-old girl, and they think there's a problem, is it a decisive refutation of their criticism if you point out that a king married a young girl and never consummated the marriage? Is that a decisive refutation? Yes, this is 100,000 out of 100,000 will say, yes, this is the clear proof that these people are hypocrites. How dare they condemn a man who has Allah's stamp of approval as the supreme pattern of conduct for all other people to imitate? How dare they have a problem with that sort of person having sex with a prepubescent 9-year-old girl if they aren't obsessed with a king marrying a 6-year-old, not even being legally allowed to have sex with her until she's 12 and never consummating the marriage because she was too young. How dare they? What a bunch of hypocrites. This is Dawa, ladies and gentlemen. This is Dawa. And we got more from Mary Harb.
Yeah, it gets even better. It gets even better because the reason why the king chose her to marry out of various eligible women is that he was still desperately in love with his queen who had died. His queen who had died was not able to produce any heirs. His barons were like threatening to overthrow and kill him if he didn't remarry. And so he married her so he could have an excuse for many years not to have sex with another woman because he was still desperately in love with his dead wife and just heartbroken that she was dead. 12 is a minimum legal age, but you can easily spin that out to 14, 15, even 16 years old. So he was looking at 10 years where he thought he'd be able to get away with, because now I'm married to somebody, you can't make me marry anybody else, and she's a princess, so she's suitable. So I got a solid 10 years here where I can continue to grieve the wife I actually loved, and then I'll deal with this issue 10 years from now if it's still an issue. And he actually got killed. Why? Because he hadn't produced an heir, because he didn't marry someone else to replace his dead wife who would give kids right away, because he still loved her so much. He was a very good husband and a very bad king. So it's even worse for them. It's even worse for them.
So notice what happened, everyone. Adiz keeps posting, Judas died on the cross. And we say, give us any source for that. Give us the slightest bit of evidence. We know you heard it at your mosque. So give us some evidence. And we actually stop. Hey, if you're trying to convince people, we have no idea why you're bringing this up, but if you're trying to convince people that Judas was the one who died on the cross, please give us any evidence whatsoever. And he gave us the contact info for a mosque in Philadelphia that is supposedly the source. So the big historical source is a mosque in Philadelphia. He also posted, in response to his own prophet spreading the legs of a prepubescent 9-year-old girl, well, King Richard II married Isabella, never consummated the marriage, and so on. And again, King Richard could have been an axe murderer, would have no bearing on what we believe. And so we asked him to explain why we should be at all concerned about about this. And what's his response? Here you go. F this Islamophobia channel. That's the response. And he followed that up with, you will all answer to Allah. And that, guys, that's Dawa. That's Dawa. Let me make an idiotic claim that I cannot possibly defend historically. And you say, oh, okay, give us a source. Well, what about Queen Isabella? What about that? Okay, what about that? Let's take a closer look at the story and show how it has nothing to do with anything you're bringing up. What's the response? If you the channel, you will all answer to Allah. Welcome to 40 generations of first cousin marriage, ladies and gentlemen.
Mm-hmm.
This is what we're supposed to take seriously.
He
Guys,
did-
I just want to point out, this is Dawa. Dawa doesn't get any better than this. This is what Dawa is. It's just they've been going around running their mouths, and they look for ignorant people and stuff, and this is it, man. And they wonder why they've got an avalanche of apostasy right now. My goodness, what a joke.
He did give the name of his sheikh there at the end, which according to the Quran, when you're taking the words of a human being as gospel or as absolute truth, I guess I shouldn't say gospel, but as absolute truth, you are worshiping them as God. So I guess Adiz Nuts here is saying that his sheikh is his God.
Yeah, and I mean, just think about how insane that is. Like, even aside from the issue of him taking a man as his source of divine revelation and so on, he's saying, hey, I got it from this guy. And he takes that as just authoritative, even though we're pointing out, give us any actual evidence for it. What's that mean? It means he mindlessly accepted it without asking for any evidence ever. That's it, right? That's how this stuff about like perfect preservation and scientific miracles, that's how this stuff gets passed on. They're trained all their lives. Believe whatever your imam says. No, under no circumstances do you ask for evidence. Under no circumstances do you ask for a source. If you do, you're basically behaving like the unbelievers, like the kuffar. How dare you mindlessly accept any idiotic nonsense that comes out of that guy's mouth? And don't you dare challenge it. Don't you dare question it. And then that's supposed to impress us. And he's like, well, why don't you do the same thing? You could go to the same guy and mindlessly believe him. What a joke, man. Welcome to Dawa. Crazy stuff. All right, let's take these last couple super chats. You should ask Mormon Dawa, Dan McClellan for clarity on Joseph and Muhammad. I bet that would be very powerful. Mm-hmm. Had a guest speaker at church. He mispronounced a word as zut, laughed and corrected himself and moved on. But I knew why he laughed. That's funny. I have asked this before, but do you have further insight? I have heard said that in Islam, lying to the kafir is permitted. U.S. soldiers experience Muslims acting friendly to them, then betraying them. Yes, that is absolutely accepted. Mm-hmm. Muhammad himself said war is deceit. So you're supposed to be deceiving people and so on. But specifically on this issue of pretending to be friends with them while actually, you're planning on killing them and so on. It's not exactly the same situation, but you have Surah 3, verse 28 of the Quran, which commands Muslims not to be friends with the unbelievers unless it's to guard yourselves against them. In other words, unless you're pretending to be friendly towards them, even though you really want to subjugate them and so on. And so look up Surah 3, verse 28 of the Quran. Then go to the commentary of Ibn Kathir, who talks about this and how this was understood by Muhammad's own companions. That's where you find the quotation from Abu ad-Darda, who said, we smile in their faces while we curse them in our hearts. And Muhammad's companion Al-Hasan said, Taqiyya is allowed until the day of resurrection. You're allowed to deceive these people until the day of resurrection. So yes, absolutely, 100% stamp of approval from Islam for this sort of thing. And what's amazing is you would think in a sane world that you would want your soldiers to be aware of that, right? You would think your soldiers would be trained. Hey, there may be people over there that love you and are going to be completely honest. You can't take that for granted because it's actually taught in their religion. They can deceive you and they can be your best. They can pretend to be your best buddies in the entire world, even though they're about to kill you. You would think soldiers would be taught that. Instead, soldiers are taught, don't think like that. If you do think like that, you're an Islamophobe and a bigot, and you deserve what you get from these guys. Sick stuff. Sick, idiotic stuff.
Just to add real quick here, Muhammad himself said that he does not permit lying, except for 3 circumstances. One is to smooth over relations between Muslims. One is to your spouse. You can lie to your spouse to make them feel better. And then the last is in war. So if you are in war, which Muslims define as all the time in all relations between them and non-believers, then you are explicitly allowed to lie, according to Muhammad. And the great Sharia scholars of Islam have used this verse and said clearly that lying is permitted in certain circumstances, and that they've developed long treatises on all the circumstances and the best way to lie. Muslims will often say, I'm not doing taqiyya. We don't allow taqiyya, or something along those lines. And often they'll be technically true because they have 8 different terms for different types of lying. And taqiyya is technically lying about your religious beliefs, not about other things. So they say, I'm not doing taqiyya, but then they're buying. This is actually an illustration given in the Sharia. Say something that's technically true that the people will interpret a way that is untrue. But as long as you can say it's technically true, that's better than saying something that's technically not true. So you say, I'm not doing taqiyya when you know you're lying, but it's not technically speaking taqiyya.
And even if I didn't know one word of what is said in the Muslim sources, even if I didn't know one word of the Quran, and if I didn't know one word of anything Muhammad said in the Hadith, and I knew absolutely nothing about their commentaries, if I just looked at the behavior of the Dawa guys, I would say, for some reason, these guys believe lying is perfectly acceptable. And even if I didn't listen to their lectures where they defend lying, as they keep doing over and over again, even if I didn't hear them specifically talking about lying, if I just paid attention to the lying and how frequent it is, and how faking assaults on themselves and so on, faking hate crimes against themselves, lying about everything they say, just based on their behavior, I would say there is something going on in that religion that convinces them that lying is perfectly acceptable. And I pointed this out yesterday. I think it was yesterday in the live stream with Inspiring Philosophy. Ali Dawa, in that famous clip about scientific, that was yesterday. Ali Dawa in that famous video where he said the scientific miracles argument has been debunked. He said Allah used the scientific miracles argument to get him to believe in Islam. And then he found out it was a bunch of nonsense. And so he believed in Islam for other reasons. But think about what he said. Allah used what he says is absolute nonsense to get him to become a Muslim. Allah used deception to get him to convert to Islam. If you believe your God uses the lies of liars, of Dawa liars, he said it. It's in his video. If you believe that Allah uses your deception to guide people to Islam, and he uses the lies of the Dawa guys, what's that mean? Allah thinks it's fine. Oh, here's another lie. Here's the latest lie. This one's about perfect preservation right down to the letter. Oh, I will use that. I will use that to get people to convert to Islam. They believe lying is fine. If you lie to people and convince them to convert to Islam, how have you harmed them? You're going to spend eternity deflowering virgins if you're a man. That's what they believe. And so you're dealing with some sick, evil, demonic stuff. You got people like Adiz and so on who mindlessly goes along with it and doesn't understand why we don't. It's like, hey, what's your real source for Judas being crucified? What's your real source, Adiz? Your real source is you listened to the biggest bunch of liars we have ever come across in our entire life. People who believe that it's good and acceptable to lie because Allah uses your lies to trick people into converting to the religion. We know that. But you expect us to take that seriously and go, oh, wow, the biggest bunch of liars we have ever seen said something, and they can't offer any defense of it. Let's go along with it. That's what Dawa is. This is insane, man. This is absolutely.
I think that you just helped me answer a question that we always have about these Dawa guys, right? Are they actually believers in Islam, or are they charlatans who are just doing it for the money? In the case of Ali Dawa, I think you just convinced me that Ali Dawa definitely understands the God he serves, right? Because Allah describes himself as the greatest of deceivers. And Ali Dawa says, it worked. It worked. I was deceived by Allah. Now I'm a Muslim.
Got
He's
me.
the true God.
Got me. Allah used deception to dupe me into converting. What a great God. He even uses the lies of lying liars from lying liar land, aka Dawaville. Cam says, so that song Invisible by Clay Aiken singing about fly on the wall is about Muhammad. You see, this is the proof. I heard that in some, what's that chick's name? She's the daughter of Miley Cyrus. She had a song Fly on the Wall. So that's a song I would think of. Yeah, that's Muhammad. That's about Muhammad. AP should make a parody song about Muhammad or Joseph Smith or, oh boy, weird stuff. Incomplete list, Mary. Where are Dahya and Al-Zut? Yeah, you don't even have a full list of.
Well, I couldn't compare the gay stuff because Joe wasn't into gay stuff. It was just Mo. So
you don't know what he was into.
He was more into ritual humiliation of men by taking their wives.
And then Al-Zut was like, we'll show you what ritual humiliation is. Al-Zut, take it. Hey, what is all this weird stuff, man? People posting weird stuff. But I'm not even going to offend you, Adiz, because you came on here dropping F-bombs when things didn't go your way. Hey, Adiz, how's this not bothering you? Like, nothing you say is remotely defensible or rational or not idiotic. What's that say? What's that tell you? Oh, hang on. Wait. We have literally about to close out, but we got all the Dawa clowns coming out right now. Hang on.
Oh, nice.
Look, we have I'm a Muslim. I didn't finish reading it. But let's see what we got. It's the powerful proof. I'm a Muslim. Houston says, Bible got son of God by tons. In Jewish language, it means righteous person. Adam is called begotten son of God. So that is figurative form. Okay, let's go step by step. In Jewish language, it means righteous person. Defend that. Chapter and verse. Keep in mind, I could defend it. The point is, so if you have Jesus saying, blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God. That's not the sense in which Jesus is called the Son of God at all. So tell us that's all it means, because there are passages where that makes absolutely no sense to think that that's what it means. But go ahead. I'm a Muslim. Give us the proof that that's all it means in the Bible. While you're scrambling around to figure out something that you made up because, well, you didn't make it up. You heard it from Ahmed Didat and you never bothered to look up Son of God in the Bible. You never bothered to do it because what did you do? You mindlessly accepted what some lying Dawa clown told you. I don't know how many times we have to see this, guys. They have zero defense, zero evidence for anything they believe, and they still just keep believing it. And even when you say, where are you getting that from? What's your source? Ahmed Didat. Okay, that guy was one of the biggest liars I've ever seen in my entire life. Why would you mindlessly go along with anything he says? But let's keep going. Adam is called begotten son of God. Where's Adam called begotten son of God?
Yep.
I'm a Muslim's butt. There. That's where he got this reference.
Yeah, give us
chapter 1, verse 5.
Should be very easy. I'm a Muslim. Chapter and verse. Chapter and verse. Adam is called begotten son of God. Show us that.
Yep.
Guys, I feel like I'm being generous. I'm making this claim. Pay attention to my claim. Okay, let's take a look at your claim. F this channel.
And he repeated again, why is Adam called the begotten son of God?
Where?
Who told you that?
Chapter and verse where Adam is called begotten son of God.
Yeah, who told you that?
Mm-hmm. Should be easy, right?
Yeah, I mean, that should take 1 second to type in.
Chapter and verse. Don't know what to do here, guys. By the way, in a few months, we're going to be starting up a live call-in show. So these very knowledgeable geniuses will actually be able to call in and explain this stuff to us. So they'll be able to call in and go, oh, but what about Queen Isabella? And we can all have our minds blown. But we'll go and wait for that because no matter what they say in the chat, you ask them to defend it or give evidence for it. Keep in mind, we're trying to expose them. So for non-Dawa fans, we want non-Dawa fans to see and understand what Dawa is. It's just a system for deceiving ignorant people and keeping them in a state of ignorance and keeping them from ever learning or understanding how to evaluate evidence and so on. That's what Dawa is. But also, we're trying to help them. We want them. We want a light switch to click on. We want a light to click on in their heads to where they go, huh, yeah, I say this stuff all day, but I have no clue why I say it. It's just something I heard. I heard it, and now I'm going around repeating it. And yeah, I have never once in my entire life critically examined anything I believe at all. Never. Not once. I've been trained to never do that and to think that it's completely evil to do that. All right. Everyone understanding? Everyone understanding Dawa now? It's pretty creepy stuff. Mm-hmm. All right. Let's go through some final thoughts. Final thoughts on, I want to say final thoughts on Joseph Smith versus Muhammad, but I know Mary has like 75 presentations comparing Joseph Smith and Muhammad. So on this particular issue, what would be, because it was, been going for a couple hours now, but what would be the real takeaway?
The number one sign, like for anyone, random person off the street, hey, is this a real prophet? Is he giving revelations from God about all the places he can put his penis that he previously said are not allowed? That should be very, very clear to everyone, that whenever he changes rules that he had initially made, has new revelations that allows him to have intercourse with all these people that he couldn't before, that should let you know that he's not hearing from God. He's just another cult leader. And they are both like perfect examples of cult leaders, together with the early moral energy and people believing him because he's so like dynamic and he's so convincing and seems so convicted, to the utter and complete dissolution of his character and behavior into a caricature where people who saw him before wouldn't even recognize who he was at the end.
Thaddeus, any life lessons to take away from all this for everyone?
Well, so I'm a Muslim did finally give an answer.
Oh, really?
He says Luke 3:38. Yeah, I just put it in.
What? Where it calls Adam the son of God because God created him directly? Mm-hmm. Thaddeus, you check that out. Does it contain the word begotten?
It does not.
Whoa, but that's what he said, right? Well, let me see.
I know.
Oh, Adam, it's up here on the screen. Adam is called begotten son of God. Okay, we asked you for begotten son of God.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he didn't know his script well enough. He thought that somewhere in the Bible it said Adam is the begotten son of God.
But he couldn't find it.
He was giving answers very rapid fire, and then he disappeared for a long time and came back with that. I think he was desperately consulting Prophet Google. All he could come up with.
Chat GPT.
Yep.
Hey, Thaddeus.
Actually very illustrative. Yep.
Oh, could you grab a link to my video, Jesus, Son of God, where here's the difference between us and you. Between us and you. I'm a Muslim. One, you will gladly say things that are false, and when you're shown that it's false, you have no problem with it, right? We would be bothered. We would be apologizing if we said something's completely false, and it was shown that it's false, we would say, okay, I'm sorry, wasn't intentionally trying to deceive, misspoke, I didn't know, I heard that from someone, never bothered to look it up, something like that. You just keep going. And so you say, in the Bible, particularly in Luke 3:38, Adam is referred to as son of God. We know there's lots of use of sons of God in the Bible. The way it's used of Jesus is unique. It's just I'm a Muslim. Think about how stupid your argument is, right? If you say, do you believe in God? I'm a Muslim. Do you believe in God? Okay, but there are lots of gods. People talk of lots of gods. Should that bother you at all that other people are using gods, the word gods, in different ways? Is that how you're using it when you say you believe in God? Should it bother you that other people use the word gods in different ways? No. We would understand what you mean, right? Okay. When Jesus is called the only begotten Son of God, is that just saying, oh, we're all sons of God, we're all children of God? Is that the same thing? You would have to be a complete, utter, total moron to say, oh, Jesus is the only begotten Son of God, and then go, oh, but other people are called the sons of God in other ways, so it's just sons by the tons, and it doesn't mean anything when Jesus is called the Son. It just means he's a righteous person. If it just meant a righteous person, then why would Jesus be the only begotten Son of God? Why? Tell us that. The point is, here's the real problem. I'm a Muslim. We know you're a Muslim, by the way you're arguing. You sound like a completely clueless idiot. I'm not saying that I'm saying that because someone needs to tell you this, and no one does. What this sort of just complete idiotic nonsense. One, we're not even talking about Jesus. You just bolted, sons by the tons. Heard it from Ahmed D. He said sons by tons. So I go repeat it. And we're telling you, if you are at all serious about this claim, why don't you go watch my video, Jesus, the Son of God, where I go through all the different ways that someone can be a son of God in the Bible and show why Jesus is completely unique. And it's used in a completely unique way in the Bible. Why do you never do that? You'll just go to the lying Dawa clown who fills your head with lies and encourages you to never be at all honest about anything, to never try to learn anything. You're destroying your brain. Do you think the creator of the universe gave you a brain just to be destroyed by the biggest liars ever? Is that what you think? We're trying to help you out of that. What's that?
I don't think you saw his most recent comment. Yes, he really is that stupid. He thinks that begotten must mean through intercourse because he's like his prophet. He's like his prophet is God, who thinks that God can't have a begotten son unless it's because he had intercourse with Mary.
Hey.
And he thinks that that's what Christians believe. How can you come in front of Christians and say things that stupid? I know your God is an idiot. I know your God doesn't mean and doesn't understand anything we believe. You have had 1,400 years to figure out what Christians have believed for 2,000 years. And yet somehow you still don't know. It's astonishing to me. It's astonishing to me.
And here's the amazing thing. One, he doesn't care. I don't even know anything about him. I know he doesn't care. And that he will go on to the next channel and say the exact same thing. Sons by the tons. And if someone bothers to pay any attention to him and respond to him, here's what you mean by begotten. Guys, have you ever met any Orthodox Christian in your entire life who believes that begotten refers to biological reproduction and God having sex with a woman?
Nope.
No Christian has ever thought that.
No Christian has ever thought what you just said we believe, and you don't care. Why? You follow a God who brags about being the best of deceivers. You only listen to the biggest bunch of liars we have ever encountered in our entire lives. And you've been trained, psychologically conditioned your entire life to only listen to liars and to never, ever, ever listen to anyone who tries to free you from that. This is what we see with Dawa. If you think one person in this chat is impressed going, whoa, this guy's making a really good point here, and not, oh my goodness, these guys are right. Dawa is nothing but stupidity and deception. You're proving us right. Everything you guys post proves us right. So thank you. Thank you for that.
He also tried to do but Jesus was a human because somehow.
Oh my goodness, blowing our mind. What? Shocker! Wait, so we believe Jesus is the divine Son of God, and he took on human flesh and had a human nature and had a dual nature, and he was simultaneously divine and oh my goodness, he's, huh? He was human? Oh my goodness, he must have become incarnate exactly like the Bible says over and over. Dude, why? Dude, how are you like this? What has Dawa and Islam done to your brain? What has 40 generations of first cousin marriage done to your brain that Islam is taking advantage of to make you like this? What?
Yeah, most Muslims still don't know that we believe that God is properly the Trinity and exists from all time as three persons, one being, and that the Son became incarnate, which means that he truly took on flesh. So he existed before he was gestated by Mary. Pre-existent, took on flesh, gestated by Mary, born, died, rose again. Because their stupid prophet and their stupid God doesn't know these things. So they just think that we believe what their God says that we believe and they don't bother. But again, just the fact that we have never believed what their book attributes to us disproves Islam. It's made up by stupid desert crackpot running around having no idea anything that people believe and just like making guesses and terrible guesses, horrific guesses from his own very limited knowledge and backwards view. You shouldn't be as dumb as your God. Your God was an idiot because your God is a sock
total
puppet
idiot
of a desert caravan robber.
Mm-hmm.
You should be smarter than that. It's shameful.
Yeah, I'm a Muslim is probably one of the guys who goes around, oh, why do you believe in a Trinity made of God, Jesus, and Mary? So dumb. How can you believe 1 + 1 + 1 = 1? And he probably goes up to Jews. Why do you believe Ezra's the son of Allah? Why do you believe that? It makes no sense. How can you believe that? I'm a Muslim. Okay. 1, the author of the Quran had no clue, apparently, what Christians believe. And yet you'll take it as an authority. Your Dawa guys are the biggest bunch of liars we've ever seen. You'll take anything they say. And even here, what do you got? Here's your big refutation. Now notice you started off with Son of God, right? You got crushed on that, like crushed. Mm-hmm. Did you apologize? I'm sorry. I'm completely ignorant. What do you expect? I listened to Ahmed Dida. No, what do? It's the Dawa dodge. You make a claim. Mm-hmm. As soon as you're exposed on the claim, you switch to a different claim. And then as soon as you're exposed on that, you switch to a different claim. And as soon as you're exposed on that, you switch to a different claim. And you think this is powerful and not an absolute embarrassment. What do you have here? Jesus also said, Father is the only true God. What about this only? You're talking about this here? Yeah, I hate to break this to you. The Father is the only God because there is only one God. But he's one in nature and essence with the Son and the Holy Spirit. And if you don't believe me, just read the rest of the chapter, dude. Matter of fact, just read 2 verses later. See, we know you read 2 verses later. Yeah.
Continue after 17:3, which is your favorite, and read 17:5.
Where Jesus says that he had glory with the Father before the world began. Why? Because he was always one. And then read all of that in light of the opening verses where we're told in the beginning was the Word was with God, the Word was God. So it makes a distinction between the Word and God. And yes, says the Word was God. And then says all things were created. Everything that has been created was created through the Word, meaning the Word was not created. But then you've got in the same chapter that the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. That's the incarnation that we're supposed to be shocked about. Oh my goodness. Jesus had a human nature. And then you keep reading, and Jesus refers to the glory he had with the Father before the world began. Dude, keep in mind, what did you just say here? You're quoting Jesus in John 17. He said, Father is the only true God. Just based on that, calling God Father, that would be enough to destroy Islam, because in Islam, Allah is a father to no one. Allah says that just when you call God Father, the entire universe is ready to fall apart at the blasphemy. You just said Jesus said it. So you just said Jesus not a Muslim. You just said it. And you just said Muhammad's a false prophet and the Quran is a lie. But in addition to all that, exposing your religion and exposing your false prophet, you should probably read the chapter. And dude, it's the same issue over and over again, right? You want to learn about Jesus from a Christian perspective, what do? You go to a stupid Dawa website. That's where you go. Why don't you actually read the chapter you're quoting? Did you read the chapter? Have you read John 17? No. You never came near it. You wouldn't go near it ever. You go to a stupid Dawa website. What does it take? You go to people who lie and you say, I will believe whatever you liars tell me, no matter how stupid. Oh, we'll tell you what to believe about Jesus. Yes, I'll listen to you guys. What is wrong with you, dude? A liar is the last person in the world I'm going to listen to tell me about God. I'm not. If you're a liar, I have zero interest in what you're telling me about God. Get away from me, dude. Not interested. You guys are trained to love it. You have a religion that has trained you to love lies. And you expect us to love it, to love that religion, man. No, it's demonic. It's demonic. Get out while you can. With that said, I'm a Muslim. Again, we'll be having some live call-in shows here in a couple months when we're set up for that. You like to have a discussion where you can just blow our minds with all this stuff. Hey, Adam is begotten. Adam's begotten son of God. You know, Jesus had a human body. He had a human body. How's that possible? Oh, my goodness. This is what we're up against, ladies and gentlemen. We have the world's second largest religion just programming people to believe anything a liar tells him to believe. Sad stuff, sad stuff. All right, guys. Tomorrow I'll be on Inspiring Philosophy's channel. I think 8 o'clock p.m. You guys got anything you want to send them to?
Yep. Mary and I will be streaming tomorrow at 1 o'clock Eastern time on the new Behind Veils video. I'm titling it Muhammad Hijab's Dawa Empire is Crumbling, because according to that video, Dawa guys have already started to jump ship. All the rats are getting off the sinking ship that is Muhammad Hijab. And if we take his tweets seriously, which I know is a very dangerous thing, but he apparently owes the government hundreds of thousands of pounds from his little lawsuit game. So all the money you donate for Allah is just going to go to the British government or the specter that he tried to sue for defamation. So all your Dawa money just heading to the kufr one way or another. All the Dawa guys, I think, are going to be jumping ship. Once one does publicly, and there's no pushback against them, everyone's getting off that ship because it is disaster. So that's what we'll be talking about tomorrow. And on Tuesday, Mary and I will be looking at the Daniel's rebuttal. We looked at his opening statement in the Islamic Dilemma debate last week. On Tuesday, we'll be looking at his rebuttal. So that's our next two shows.
And so definitely want to be checking that out. But yeah, people are going to recognize what I've been saying, that hijab is willing to destroy everyone around him. Total narcissist. Hey, if I'm going down and bringing everyone down with him, like what happens when he gets exposed? He wants everyone else involved in him trying to defend himself. Even it's going to destroy all of them too. He does not care. He will gladly destroy all of Dawa and Islam itself if it helps him. And people are going to pick up on that. They're going to realize, wait a minute, I'm the one who's getting attacked here for being associated with this. I'm the one who's being attacked for trying to help you abuse this woman. Maybe this is not a good guy here. And so finally we have I'm a Muslim says, David, father doesn't mean biological. Oh my goodness. Thaddeus, Mary, did you know that father, when used of God, doesn't mean biological? Did you know that? I didn't know that. Wait, first he informs us that Jesus had a human nature. We didn't know that. And now he informs us that father doesn't mean biological. Oh my goodness, this guy's enlightening us.
So all he knows about Christianity is what his stupid book wrongly ascribes to us. No Christian believes that the father had intercourse and had a child, and that is the son. That is what Muslims say we must believe, because Muhammad was an idiot and didn't know what we believe.
Total moron.
So why don't you start with the Gospel of John? The words are not terribly large, so maybe you will be able to grasp it. It's laid out very simply so that even children can grasp this. So start with the Gospel of John and find out what we actually believe, and stop humiliating yourself and making your prophet and God look like idiots.
You're making them look like, now they were doing a bang up job on their own, but you're really helping them look like complete morons here. But look at here. But Christians tried to turn it into biological. I'm a Muslim. Did you miss the part where we pointed out we've never heard a Christian who interpreted God as Father as biological? Did you miss that part? I'm a Muslim. Here. What have I been saying? That you guys just accept stuff that you heard in a video and it never crosses your mind to investigate it or to ask for a source or to see if it even lines up with reality? Okay. I'm a Muslim. Question before we close out. You said Christians tried to turn it into a biological. Show us Christians who tried to turn Father, as in our Father in heaven, into biological Father. Show us that. We'll go ahead and wait a couple seconds because we're just closing out, but we know he's not going to answer, because guess what? That's a lie. That's not what we believe. I've never met a Christian who believes that. And you just said that's what Christians do, which doesn't mean you're intentionally lying. You could just be completely stupid or completely clueless and so on. If you go to your Dawa, whatever Dawa moron you follow, and he tells you things like this, and then you go say it, you think you're getting good information, and you find out, oh, this is what they said. This is what my Dawa guy told me Christians believe. And yet there's not a Christian anywhere who believes that. How do you not at some point realize these guys are liars? Like the Dawa guys who tell me this stuff are complete liars. They're telling me stuff about someone else's beliefs and no one actually believes that. No one. How does that not bother you? We're actually interested from a psychological perspective, how you get people like you to accept what liars. I'm saying that I'm someone who's been to prison. I've never met anyone. The biggest, most psychopathic, narcissistic liar I've ever encountered is nothing compared to your Dawa guys. These guys have no concept of telling the truth, and they believe that God likes it when they lie. How do you go to them for information about what we believe? And then when we show you, no, we don't believe that. Well, but Jews believe Ezra is the son of God. Show me any Jew who's ever believed that. One. Show me one. And you'll just believe the Dawa guy, and you'll just believe whatever lie your Dawa guy tells you. What is this religion, man? Do you think you're impressing us, or we're going, wow, this is something we want to get into? We really want to get a part of this. We need to become obsessed with believing nonstop lies. This is pathetic, dude. It's pathetic, and it's all we ever see, and you wonder why there's an avalanche of apostasy, because there's a new generation of people coming up. And they're seeing this, and they're seeing this, and they're listening to the Dawa guys at first too. But then they go and they actually try to use this Dawa nonsense. But unlike you, they're recognizing, wait a minute, this Dawa guy told me this. I went and tried to use that on a Christian. The Christian just knocked it out of the sky because it's a lie.
And laughed at you.
Other people are catching on. So you can continue doing this. Thank you. You're helping accelerate the avalanche of apostasy. Your guys like you, who are a complete embarrassment, are helping the avalanche of apostasy. Hats off to you for going there. Catch y'all next time.